Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday. If you're here, please sure to hit the like button, like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Also, thank you for being here last minute. This whole idea was kind of last minute, but I posed a question out there on my community tab and I got some really interesting feedback and I thought, why don't I just have a conversation and see where everybody is at? So again, shout out to you for joining me last minute. What's going on, everybody in the chat, everybody in the building? Y'all know the drill. Like, share, subscribe. Be sure to support your favorite content creators. You can find me on Cash App or Venmo Sharday. I'll be sure to read and acknowledge all super chats. So today I want to be really focused on hearing from you guys, hearing what you guys have to say about this entire situation. I mean, by now you guys are fully aware that the internet, the social media streets have been a little bit in an uproar since the live that happened with, or the interview that happened with just Pearly and Nick Fuentes, and well, I'll say specifically more of like the Black YouTube sector, right? That's where there's been a lot of traction. I've seen a lot of back and forth. I've seen a lot of infighting. I've seen a lot of accusations, a lot of slander, a lot of division, a lot of pick your side, and there's just been all this stuff. And from my understanding, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, there is always, I don't think the Black Manosphere has ever been like a monolith. I think there's always been a bit of a tension from what I've observed, right? You had the debate between wearing a suit and a tie or being able to wear street attire. That's always been a debate. And so I don't pretend to say that the Black Manosphere has always been a monolith. It hasn't. But nevertheless, I know that there's been some key voices, people in the space that have been leaders or proclaim themselves as leaders. And so y'all know I had the interview with Mr. Obsidian on Sunday, and him being, I think, one of the founding fathers of the Black Manosphere. He's the person that I generally lean into when I want to get some understanding as to what's happening in the space and just trying to understand the pulse of what's going on. Because again, from how I understand, he was one of the original godfathers of the Black Manosphere and has been doing it for a long time. So I had the interview with him and he broke things down basically, bit by bit, what the Manosphere is doing, their intentions, why they have chosen to ally with just Pearly things, despite there being some contradictions in overall values. And so, that interview happened. And of course, that created a little bit of a stir. Not everybody was in agreement with that. And, there's just been this ongoing conversation really over the last week or two in general as to whether or not the Black Manosphere is just done. If they've sold out for money, if they have sold out just to try to get some cash, just to try to ride the tailcoats, for lack of a better term, of just Pearly things, just to try to get some money, or whether or not the Black Manosphere is making strategic moves to ultimately make sure that their political goals and their financial goals are met. And so this has been a debate. I don't pretend to have the answer on this at all. I'm really here to just listen to you guys. But one thing I will say that I think has been the most interesting about this is, I mentioned this in a few videos I did a couple of days ago, where I'm like, at the end of the day, there's all this uproar over a white woman having a conversation with a white man that's actually quite common. Some of my callers said this a few days ago, where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of white people who just don't agree with reparations. And there's white people out there today who have a really, really ignorant or just downright nasty things to say about slavery. Just go on Twitter. So it's like that conversation that created so much ruckus. Yes, it was disturbing, but also it wasn't surprising. But nevertheless, it's like what I really see the result of that conversation to me seems like a very strategic move. As a person who worked in marketing, as a person who did that for a couple of years in corporate, and I understand how there's teams and there's strategists who know how to capitalize off of the weaknesses of a particular market, I totally and completely think that this entire thing was, I don't want to say staged, but to me, if we look at the results, the fact that, Miss Pearly things has cried all the way to the bank, right? Living her best life, going to Italy or doing whatever, getting more followers, and she's getting more support. She's crying all the way to the bank. Meanwhile, Black YouTube is infighting. To me, like, it just seems like the perfect strategic move. And it seems like, whoever her marketing team is, whoever her strategist is, absolutely knew how to capitalize off of the weaknesses in the Black YouTube space, in the Black social media space, and they did that. And at the end of the day, like I said, she's crying all the way to the bank, and we're still here infighting. So y'all make of it what it is, but that's just reality of how things have transpired. So again, my main goal today is to pose the question to you guys, whether or not you actually think the Black manosphere sold out just to try to ride the coattails of Miss Pearly things and hopefully get a few coins in the interim, or whether or not they are strengthening their alliances, they are strengthening their overall message, and trying to find ways to get their message across. And so that's really what my today's conversation is about. I'm here to hear from you guys. Like I said, this has been a debate. And then apart from that, the next question that I have is, okay, so what is next? We've seen the infighting, right? We've seen the division. We've seen the kind of whether it's miscommunication or it's just, just lack of understanding or just difference of opinions. We've seen that, right? We've seen O'Shea Duke Jackson decide that he was no longer a part of the Black manosphere. I think MTR already backed away a while back, but he still very much has been in the algo. But we know he was like not for the Miss Pearly things, right? We have Sarah Garvey, which some people say he's Manosphere, some people don't. I know he's also in the Pan-Africanist space, so there's a little bit of nuance there. But so you have these different content creators who are, have notable sizes, notable influence, who have very much against what was done, what was said, and feels like there needs to be some standards set as far as trying to make sure that you respect respect our culture. Then you have the other ones who are just like, whatever. There's a bigger picture to this, right? Obviously, Anton Daniels, Media Obsidian Ali, lead attorney. Now I know some people said said that Anton Daniels is not Manosphere. He could not be Manosphere. I've never talked to him. So correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm just saying these are Black men in the space with notable sizes, notable followings who have taken very different positions. And the manosphere in general, from what I've observed, correct me if I'm wrong, has had a difference of opinion regarding this key issue. Not just because, in my opinion, it's not just because, okay, a white girl said something racist, or a white girl said something that was offensive, or did a move that was silly, whatever. Not just that, but it's because of what she represents, right? We know she came to be as a result of the direct impact from men in the Black manosphere specifically. Kevin Samuels, the lead attorney. She also, I think, worked with Donovan Sharp, who I don't think is Black manosphere, but was in the manosphere. Who else? Hafez, who's not in the manosphere, but nonetheless a Black man. So we know nonetheless that she studied under all these people, right? She paid the money, was willing to get the training, was willing to understand the business. She also had a previous, before she even went, I think, really did her own thing. She was on TikTok for some time with her ex-boyfriend, who happened to be a Black guy. And so she has had a huge influence from Black men, and specifically from Black culture. Nobody can deny that. Now she's in London. I mean, God knows how long. I think she might be coming back. But nobody can deny that the Black men have largely influenced her platform, and that she has used the intellectual property of the Black manosphere because, she paid to do so. She studied under some of the best. So, but like I said, that has been one of the defining, I don't want to say issues, but that's been one of the different areas where there's been difference of opinion. And it goes back to, okay, is this the thing that's going to break it? Is this the thing that's going to break apart the manosphere? Or is this going to be the thing that strengthens it? And then what is next? What is next for the Black manosphere? What is next for the space? Do they continue to grow? Do they continue to get more mainstream traction? Do they have a voice through a Just Pearly things? Is she going to be the mouthpiece for the Black manosphere? Or is there going to be somebody else? And so these are all questions that I think are going around in the midst of the arguing, in the midst of the infighting, but I think there's some interesting questions. So that is what I am here about today. I want to hear from you guys. I'm curious to hear your perspective. So I'm going to drop the link, and we'll be able to talk for a little bit, and we'll see where things go. All right, so let me see really quickly. You guys like, share, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. And as always, the best way to ensure that your chats are acknowledged is through super chat. Okay, 1 second. All right. So I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you. Did the Black Manosphere sell out? Yes or no? And what's next? In your opinion, what is the next phase of the Black Manosphere? Are they going to strengthen? Are they going to grow? Is there going to be another Black male who's going to come and help champion the cause, some of the different political causes that Black men are trying to work towards? For example, those that have been outlined in the Black men political agenda. Or is it going to be just Pearly things, you know, basically parroting the points within the Black Manosphere, but doing it in a mainstream audience? I'm curious. I am curious. So let's check. We got a few people in the back, and let's see what we got. Hey, what's going on?
Hello, how you doing? And just I'm going to be good today. I'm not going to go crazy or nothing like that. I'll be a lot more calmer. But I just wanted to say that I think that most definitely, unfortunately, the Black Manosphere stole out. That's why I feel like O'Shea Duke Jackson left. Because even though I don't agree with Duke on everything he says, because he has a conservative like mindset, just like Obsidian, we both got one thing in agreement where we're for Black people. You know what I'm saying? And regardless of his values or his political views, O'Shea has shown that he is down for Black people. And the thing is that I feel like Obsidian, for whatever reason, is selling out because of this white chick. Like, to actually watch the same videos that everybody else has watched, and for you to somehow try to come up and try to defend that in any way. And then you're telling me about, hey, Black man, be accountable and do this and do this. And you do not hold this white girl accountable for the words that came out of her mouth. Matter of fact, you what's the word I'm looking for? You pretty much give her a pass.
Give her a pass. Mm-hmm.
Right, you pretty much give her a pass live on the air. Like, I was watching his whole telecast, and when she came up on those words, she got quiet. He didn't say anything, and I'm like, man, I know you're not about to sit up here and defend this white chick after she just said this. I know you're not, and he did, and I was disappointed. That's why the other time he was on here, I got on here, I was mad because I was disappointed. I'm disappointed that a Black man can get on this YouTube thing and talk about Black Manosphere and then allow not only this white chick to disrespect Black people, but disrespect him and him be okay with it. And then try to pass it off as, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? People don't got to think the way I do. True, people don't got to think the way you do. But at the same time, ain't nobody, no race of no people is going to let you disrespect some trauma that they people went through. I don't know what group is going to do that. So, but that's all I got to say.
No, I appreciate for you weighing in. I alluded to this before. I'm like, at the end of the day, I think we could all agree on this one point that if this was the Jewish community, had those things been said about the Jewish community, we wouldn't be having these conversations. They definitely would have gotten checked, and there would have been some strong consequences, and rightfully so. I don't think you should make light of atrocities that have happened. Genocide. That's nothing that you make light of. But to me, it's these kinds of scenarios to me are always reminders of just, for lack of a better term, how Black people are viewed. at the end of the day. Like there's certain things that you can that can pass that are acceptable in the Black community that would never happen in any other community. It just is what it is. And that's not to say that it couldn't change. That's not to say that things couldn't be different. But like I said, there's certain conversations that you would never have in another community because of, I don't know if it's because of their political alliances, because of their power, because of their self-respect, because of all the above. I don't know. But we just know it wouldn't happen. But like I said, in Black community, there's just certain kinds of behavior that we will only see, I think, among us. So, okay, real quick. Also, I want to acknowledge the 1999. Thank you so much. Just wanted to show support, love your content. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate the generosity. Y'all know the drill, guys. If you like the content, you like what's going on here, support your favorite content creators. Find me on Cash App, Venmo, Share Day, also Super Chats. I'll be sure to acknowledge those Super Chats. And, so thank you again. And okay, so I want to give, let's see, who else do I have? It was, I think, Derek, were you the next one to weigh in on whether or not you think the Black Manosphere sold out or not? Maybe you are in agreement with the action. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they sold out. It was just a lot of this is like clout chasing. She's the big one right now. She's got the most subscribers. She's got the most views. Everybody's trying to take a pot shot at her. So everybody's trying to get their little clout, some views. This whole situation, in my opinion, was blown out of proportion because it was from what I've seen, it was more of like an interview. She was going back and forth, and she was kind of ignorant. And she was like, "Well, maybe you could go that way." I don't. Do you guys think she's a racist? Be honest.
Yeah, I don't think she was.
Oh, I most definitely do. I most definitely think she's a racist.
So you really think she hates Black people? Honestly.
No, I think there's. Well, I'll say this for me. I think sometimes when people talk about a person being racist, they have these very strong ideas of like you wearing a hood and wanting to go and delete all Black people. Like that's not it. To me, there's levels and there's nuance to this. A person can have racist ideals or racist ideology and not necessarily hate you per se, but believe that you are not respect you on the same level. Think in some way that you're lesser than. They may not say it blatantly, but there will be these little things, or there'll be a way that they treat you. For example, I interviewed one of my friends about this a couple weeks ago, and she broke this down. She called it passive aggressive racism, where she's like, yeah, it's the white people that they won't say anything to your face. They may be nice, but then they'll kind of gaslight you a bit, or they'll be a little shady here or there. Like they'll be super passive aggressive. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the actions, or when it comes to them wanting to basically make sure that they remain in charge, that's what it's kind of about. Daughters of the Confederacy would be a prime example. That's an example of people after slavery who their whole I want to say their whole, but one of their purpose was to try to downplay the effects of slavery and say, oh, slave masters were nice. Hey, they gave their slaves food. They gave them a place to stay. It wasn't that bad. So it's like
this is called the lost cause myth.
Also, I'm talking to Daughters of the Confederacy. It's like I think it's a book. But yes, the lost cause. It's that whole idea of it's not that bad. So I think there's levels to it. Listen, everybody isn't out there just like with a pitchfork trying to delete people. Some people are like, yeah, you can be here, but in their mind, they just don't see you. They don't respect you on the same level. And you can see that by some of sometimes the more subtle ways that they will treat you or not treat you. That's just my opinion.
But it's all the practice of white supremacy. It's all the practice of white supremacy.
Okay. Well,
I just wanted to say this. I want to ask you this question too. I don't. You know that you can be racist and not like want to kill white people, right? I mean, when I want to kill Black people, like that is like, like for instance, American history, redlining happened. You know what I'm saying? Up here in the North, they really, redlining happened. They didn't want to live next to Black folks. They marked out outlines to say, hey, this is where the Black area is going to live, right?
Whether or not you're killed, with a gun, knife, a pole, or anything like that, even if it harms your psychological well-being, that's still an intent to kill you. It is the practice of white supremacy. The one thing about it is that when whites alter the practice of what is termed racism, They altered it in such a way to where they ain't got to be as overt with it anymore. So now the racism or white supremacy, as I would say, that they practice is more so to actually affect you psychologically. And that can have far, far more detrimental, that can do way more damage to an individual black person than them putting on a hood and stringing you up or tying you up to a tree and whipping you. But I wanted to
Okay.
say it could be a combination of three things that this event, was about. One, it could have been a ploy to rid the space of many of the black women and people that are deemed pro-black. Two, it could have been a tactic used by the white supremacists because they seen how many of the black men in this space were going so hard at the image of black women and drumming up wanting femininity and things like that they actually may have inserted her just to cause that level of confusion. And I think the third thing could be that it was just happenstance. She saw an opportunity, came in, took advantage of it, but it really opened up what the black manosphere, as far as the collective of black men that's in it, are really made up for and what they really stand for. I mean, when I first ventured into the space and started recognizing some of the people, the first thing I immediately noticed was that a lot of the black men here are assimilationists. They want to be accepted by white people. And that was my underlying feeling. Not all, because, you have a few brothers in here who are really, down for it and want to really fix black people. But you had a really large segment of black men that just really wanted to kind of put black women in the hot seat for all the pains that they may have suffered up under by individual black women that may have dealt with in their lives. So who knows? Who knows what this is really all about? But it did expose a schism in ideology amongst black people that needs to be fixed. That really needs to be fixed. If you
Yeah.
want to be in this, go ahead, Dara.
No,
Go
I was
ahead.
just I was saying me coming maybe more from a marketer background, I definitely think that she worked with she has a team of strategists behind her, or of a strategist behind her who are basically there to help make sure that she is tapping into certain markets and is utilizing some of those weaknesses, for lack of a better term, or some of those opportunities to grow her brand. So I personally think somebody has been studying, knows the algorithm, knows the space, knows that there is opportunity for her specifically to be able to grow her business. Because if we look at the end result, that's exactly what happened. Her followers are up. She's living her best life. She's crying all the way to the bank, and we're still here having this conversation. So I'm like, to me, it seemed very
Yeah,
much like
because
a strategic business move, and it's like that. I mean, to a certain extent, it's like
especially
she's a good businesswoman. I just didn't I didn't agree with the statements that were said. But what are we gonna do about it?
Can I ask a
You know,
question to the
yeah. I mean,
panel?
the one thing we could do about it as a people is expect that from those types of people.
yeah, I wouldn't
And
surprise me.
really, yeah, me neither. Somebody else is gonna speak. Go ahead.
I,
Go ahead.
Yeah, one of them
Okay.
is it Mark D. I think Mark, you're the next one.
yeah, hey, peace. Love your show. Peace to all of the brothers on the panel. Um, More than the issue of actually having animosity towards like the racial group, like black people, for instance, I think it's more the issue is more that the problem is the standard procedure of other groups have been to get the fruits from black culture and whatever is produced by black people and basically repackage it, as opposed to us having our own market and them coming to us for the actual product. They'll go and open up a Popeye's chicken instead of, and it's basically like, as opposed to like Crimson Cure and Chantel Simone and some of the other sisters like DNeika, and yourself. Like, I see that from my impression is that those women on this platform, not motivated for the earning about the potential earnings, but the actual sentiment and the point and the issues, as opposed to the girl Pearl. I just see her as someone that's seen that the level of money that Kevin Samuels was coming up on, and then just jumped on the bandwagon. And to me, that's more of an issue. And you know, and what makes it even more worse is that she doesn't even have her own talking points, unlike the other ladies, such as yourself, Miss Crimson, DNeika. Like they're actually coming from a perspective and conclusions that they've come up from their own experiences. They're not just regurgitating, you know. And then for this guy Obsidian to call himself the leader of the Manosphere, like, that's kind of corny.
So, and maybe, okay, and this is where I'm like, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, because I know the debate, you know, really was it racist, was it not racist? And I've seen enough evidence to come to my own conclusions. But I think really my bigger focus right now is, you know, like I said, whether or not we do think the Manosphere sold out, and what is this going to meaning like moving forward? Is it just going to be, okay, now there's going to be a whole bunch of different content creators who are kind of doing their things individually? Or is this going to strengthen the political cause of the Black Manosphere? Because I know there was that, you know, 14-point political agenda put together by men within Manosphere, Dr. T.S. Johnson and others, which is largely about trying to champion the causes where men, Black men in particular, have been systematically targeted. That is how I came into this space. It was my husband that told me about it. And I think I first connected with Mr. Obsidian. I don't even remember why. I don't know if it was a book, but I came across his content. I did a review, and then we started collaborating, or we did a few interviews. And, you know, I heard he was one of the first people to start. I think it was him. I think O'Shea, BGS, like there was a couple handful who were like the founding fathers. So I think I've always defaulted to him just because when I first came into this space, I talked to him and he has a reputation of being the founding father. But I don't know, you guys tell me, is there even a leader, or is this just made up of different people with different ideals and there's never really been like a unified movement? Or is there a unified movement?
Well, the common leader should be rebuilding the image of Black men. You know, regardless if you're on the conservative or liberal side of the spectrum, whether you're, you know, so-called, or I'll say it, pro-Black, or you're an assimilationist. You know, the ideal should be to rebuild the image of Black men, and that's what it should be all about. You know, this if this wasn't, you know, a ploy from inside of the space to actually rid, you know, some pro-Blacks or some women from the space, and if it was like a sortie by white supremacists, you know, then that gaping hole that was open should really be looked at as to how, you know, white skin, white ideals still affect us as a people. And if we are really going to rebuild the image of Black men, you know, that has to be faced and dealt with. That's what this instance really showed.
So would you say, and then I think next I had, I think it was Kevin C after this. So would you say, and maybe I'll direct this to you, Kevin C, and if you guys want to interject after he has a chance, let me know.
I'm sorry, I just got cut out. My battery's going on me. Appreciate you guys. Sorry to dip off like that.
No worries, all good. Well, and I think this goes back to you raised an interesting point about like the overall goal of the Manosphere. I know there's a political agenda, and so from my understanding, it was about trying to champion the cause, you know, in family courts, which I know it's been an issue, just different ways that men, and more specifically Black men, have been systematically targeted and have been undervalued, and so trying to help correct some of those inequalities. Would you say that was the overall goal of the Black Manosphere, or was it about image, or was it about just coming online and complaining about relationships with women? Like, has there ever been a unified goal of this is what the Black Manosphere is about? These are our goals. Here, these are our intentions. Here is a leader. Has that ever existed? And I'll start with Kevin C if you want to weigh in, because I know you've been waiting, and then.
Yeah. So, hello. Hey, thanks for letting me up, Shay, and then
Yeah.
all you folks, and hello to everybody. So, look, the black, the Black Manosphere is really there to help men. It's not really to teach women
Okay.
anything because we're not trying to teach y'all anything. All
Yeah.
right, because women are going to be what y'all. Women are what they are. And,
Yeah.
and in the overall scheme of things, and we love y'all, but at the overall scheme of things, if you're not being, helpful in any way, then we're gonna completely avoid you. That's the whole point: is to teach and coach and counsel men and to actually empower them. And not just about women, but it's about economics, life skills, and a whole bunch of other things, career and everything else. So that's what the Black Manosphere is for. Women are just kind of like a side topic,
Okay.
and mainly it's just to avoid the toxic women. That's it. And let's remember something. This white woman, no white people are part of the Black Manosphere. That's you know, I always saw people like Pearl and these other white people. I've seen other white people pop in and out. They're guests. I'm not listening to them for anything. They're not black. All
Hmm.
right. I'm a black man in America. You can't tell me nothing about being black, especially if you're non-black. So I'm not going to listen to you. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, I have to tell almost when I'm talking to non-black people, I generally have to tell them every time, you don't know what you're talking about. You're uninformed. You don't know these issues. And then they get all upset. They start getting all up in their feelings. Well, I can talk. No, well, then tell me about the history of it. Tell me about the origins of it. Tell me about the etymology and the nuances and details. And they can't do it. But somehow, and that's one of the things that frustrates me about non-black people is that they can identify all the issues, but they can't tell you nothing about it. And then they want to come over and wag their finger and try to teach you about what you need to be doing to fix whatever we got going on. And then I
Hmm.
also remind them about the issues and problems that they have. And I look at everybody across the board: white, Asian, Hispanic, all y'all got problems. So you really don't want to come to me trying to wag your finger at me. All right. So, look at the problems in your group, and then we can figure out the problems in our group. And remember, most of the problems that are in Black America, although there is some you can attribute it, some of it to Black behavior. Okay, we have to admit that we do have bad actors, criminals, and you know chaotic and dysfunctional people. That's not the majority, but remember that we have other people literally helping screw up the group, and I remind
Hmm.
them of that too. I don't let them get off on that or get away from that reality. I'll go ahead and stop right there.
Okay. So, okay, I'm trying to think who was next. I don't know if you guys want to respond to that. I had asked the question of like if there was ever a unified goal of the Black Manosphere. I know Kevin T, you alluded to the fact it's not about women, and rightfully so. That's why people in the past have tried to say, "Oh, you're part of the Black Manosphere," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like just because I talked to or interviewed people from the Black Manosphere doesn't mean that I am a part of it. I just tend to be sympathetic, right, or empathetic to some of the issues that I know have impacted men and Black men in particular. And so it's like I want to help understand that and then be advocate for that as far as I can. But I'm not here to say, oh, I should be this, I should be that. It's like, no, this is a space for men. So I think they should be the ones who would be able to determine what is it they need. That's how I've seen it. So I don't know if anyone had any response to Kevin C, or if you guys, I think, was it
I
Deanie?
believe the overall goal was to enact or find a way to effect some type of legislation
Okay.
that would help black men. As far as the 16 point, uh, um, I don't know the exact. I forgot the exact title. Excuse me for that. But Dr. T. Hassan Johnson and a collective of black men's 16 point initiative, is definitely a great start to push forward with. But who I guess some thought that the white lady would be a better visual representation for that program to get moved forward somehow amongst a certain segment of people. But I believe if it's going to get done, it's going to have to be done by somebody who looks like one of us, who's definitely skilled and capable of politicking, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to say that I don't think the Black Manosphere should have a leader. I liked how I thought they had it, where it was like more like a council, where it was like Obsidian, it was like oh, I'm saying
BGS, BGS,
BGS
O'Shea,
and O'Shea and them.
and
So, you know what I'm
AM,
saying?
Big
I
Red, and
think
stuff like that.
right. I think that's what needs to be as far as the leadership of the Manosphere. And those brothers, since they did start this, need to get together. I know O'Shea said he left, but he needs to come back into the fold somehow. and we need to get together and figure out what is best for the image of Black men, because that's what I thought this was originally about. And talking about the lies and the mischaracterization of a lot of Black men. So that's why I thought this whole thing was about. You know what I'm saying? Like Kevin C said, I just thought women was a side topic because we all have our problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I think Afro Disciple 88 is next. If you want to weigh in on the question of whether or not the Black Manosphere sold out, what's next, or any of the other topics that we've kind of bounced around since then.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be on here with you guys. It's so like when I think about this whole thing, two questions pop into my head. Actually, more of a statement going into a question. One, we have a very unhealthy relationship with whiteness. It's so triggering to us because when I keep hearing these conversations go on about her, I've watched a lot of her videos. She doesn't really mention us. I feel like the only time that it's really come up is in this last Nick Fuentes thing, but normally it's just relationship conversations. And even though a lot of the people that are on the panel happen to be Black women and there be Black men there too, it's a mixture of people. And it's usually generalized relationship topics. It's not specific. Black Manosphere conversations, like the ones that you have, or We Need to Talk have, or even Dr. Tia Simon Johnson, is focused and directed towards Black people, Black men in particular. So I don't understand how we keep getting to this point of she's representative of the Black Manosphere or people that talk about her, because if that's the case, that just having Black people on or just having a conversation where Black people are present makes you part of the Black Manosphere, then bring on Maury Povich, bring on fucking Jerry Springer, bring on bring on all these other people that have had Black people on their platforms. Are they now part of the Black Manosphere? Like, I don't understand what the metrics are here that make.
As far as white supremacy is concerned, the background imagery of her just having Black people on her panels would be a signaling to the white folks who watched her that Black people were being talked about. As far as practicing white supremacy, that's what that means.
But that's a completely unfair thing, because all right, there's a symbiotic relationship that goes on. Well, there's a symbiotic relationship that goes on with her shows that I've noticed is that a lot of people that go on there, just like they go on Fresh and Fit, just like they go on Daily Wrap Up Crew, just like they go on all these other shows, they're going there to promote themselves. So there's no victims here. There's nobody that's going on there that's being taken advantage of. They're all trying to take advantage of each other. She's trying to have live guests that are going to bring in people that bring in views, and these people are trying to use her subscribers to get subscribers for themselves on their Instagram and their other shows. So there's not this.
But it's the imagery.
Exactly.
It's the imagery.
Exactly.
It's the imagery. It's that the white folks. The white folks, it's that the white folks who are viewing the program and being entertained.
Real quick, let him finish. Real quick, his point, and then Stu, if you want to interject, you can. And then I think Deanie, I want to make sure that you have a chance to weigh in. I think you're next.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that the focus that we put on this and the idea that imagery makes reality in this situation, then we should be a lot more concerned about the other things that we depict. Because if this thing is taking up way more focus than all the other elements that we have within our community. Like, again, I don't see anybody so upset that the literacy rate for Black boys is down. I don't see anyone this upset that teenage pregnancy for Black girls are up again. Like, we're spending all this time on like this girl getting on YouTube making videos that the things that are really damaging our community, the things that are really pertinent that we should be focusing on don't mean nothing. That means nothing. Nope, we got to focus on the imagery because some white girls making money off of Black people being in the background. That's the most important thing in the world right now.
So you know that the Black boys who have fathers, they know how to read. So that's a problem. So I'll just go ahead and say that. But that's the problem. If you get a father, you'll know how to read as a Black boy. You know, even I made sure of that. My son's in college. All my kids are in college. So that's the answer. Get a father.
But I also want to say that just because we're talking about one issue don't mean that we can hit on all these other issues at the same time. One thing I don't like about your comment is that how disingenuous it is that we can't talk about one issue while these problems are going on. You know what I'm saying? And most definitely the Black Manosphere does talk about those issues. I believe a couple of people have brought up T. Hassan Johnson.
if you do not know who that is, I would suggest that you look him up. You know what I'm saying? And he has a whole 15 to 16 point initiative of Black men, which has been referred to like 5 or 6 times about Black boys and Black men. So because you are misinformed, don't come on here trying to cape for this white woman that we're talking about, like we can't hit on multiple issues at the same time, like we can't multitask or something. Because to me, hold on 1 minute, sir. Hold on 1 minute. Because to me, that is disingenuous. You are being disingenuous. It's like I don't want to say you're caping for the lady, but that's what it's like. It's like, why are we spending all this time talking about this lady who actually interjected herself into these issues and actually said some BS about Black folks? You know what I'm saying? Why are we saying something? Why are we saying something about that? Why these other issues are going on? Like, come on, man. Like this, like white people, like that's the exact conversation I literally hear on Fox News all the time, and I watch Fox News.
Yeah, that was like that was like him. That was he just like called out Chicago, like with white folks. Well, what about Chicago?
That wasn't the
brother,
right? And I'm from Chicago.
Well, I think what I'm hearing, I think what I'm hearing you say, Afro Disciple, is that I get it. It's like, this is what SB said yesterday. I kind of agreed with her too, where it's like at a certain point, we shouldn't be surprised. It's more like if focusing on this is now taking away your energy from building a stronger reality for yourself, whether it's, you know, dealing with the issue of abortion in our community, right? Dealing with the issue of literacy, which Kevin C. you alluded to, dealing with the issue of single parent households. Like if this becomes a distraction, then it's kind of meaningless. I want to make sure I'm understanding your point now for this disciple. Like if this becomes a distraction from us doing what we can do to improve our situation, then it's kind of like, well, is it winning? You know what I mean? Like what's even the point?
Well, the point I was like alluding to, and it was more along the lines of the way that the conversation keeps going is that this is the most important thing that's happened to the Black manosphere. That this person taking up space deserves all of our attention. And again, I'm not saying this alone. I've seen 14 videos per day, every day about this. So it's not like I'm like coming up with this and pulling it out of the air or trying to direct away from it. I'm just saying this is what's being presented. Am I the only one who's getting this in their algorithms where this comes up with her every single day for the last 2 weeks, 14, 15 times a day?
They're complaining about her, but profiting off of her.
Probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then after that, it's going to be over. And then
it's going to be something else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, real quick, I do want to, because I know DNeica's been waiting, and then I think after that is Ike, and then I think unapologetic, if I'm mistaken.
So no, I think it was 18. I think it was 18 letter.
It was 18 letter. Okay. Bear with me, guys. Okay, but
I see LAR's here, so I'm somewhat excited because he's got videos that are like 10 years old.
Oh, okay.
That are like red pill. I mean, I guess he's Black Manosphere, but that are just pure red pill videos. Okay. But you know, with what's been going on, what I look at it as, I think a lot of this has to do with people's individual politics. And I've had this issue, not this issue, but I've had this kind of thought process about this space for the last 3 years or 4 years. Ever since the whole incident with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. That's kind of what made me realize that some brothers in this space are I don't know what to call them, because they claim to be conservative. They're Black Republicans, right? So they do all the Republican talking points. And I realized that some of the brothers in this space are white apologists. And it's kind of it's a triggering thing to say, but it's something I noticed back even when, you know, during the whole election cycle. Mm-hmm. And it kind of repeated itself, where people just kind of got out of their body for just Pearly things. They could have just ignored it and said nothing, right? But it evoked this reaction to say, hey, I'm going to, like, you know, don't be so emotional. Don't be such a victim. What she said wasn't that bad, which all could be true. But it's like, what is triggering you to elicit this compassionate defense, like this big defense force. And BGS, I have realized I've unsubscribed from a lot of people, but BGS back in the day, he had a video called "The Myth of White Manhood" and the myth of white womanhood, and a lot of the stuff that I've seen that's happened recently it almost harkens back to this I don't know, this weird identity crisis that some of the brothers have in this space. So I don't think it's like a split. I think it's always been here, but this is just kind of highlighting and everything. And I think it's also something that needs to happen just so people can understand where we align. You know, like it's not necessarily like, you know, we hate each other or anything like that. It's just okay that you operate this way and I operate this way, and you know, we just keep it pushing. So that's my perspective on what's been happening in the last couple weeks.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to think. Did I say it was Ike or 18th Letter next? I don't remember. I don't remember.
I'll let the brother Ike go first and voice his opinion.
Okay.
Cool. So I just have a few points I just want to talk about in this whole Just Pearly things and Black Manosphere situation. I don't see the Black Manosphere as some sort of organized community. It's like a loose collective of ideals, is what I've observed over the last few years. This isn't cable TV. Everyone's independent. Everyone does what they need to entertain and garner an audience. I think if Just Pearly things, if she wasn't at 1.4 million or whatever she's at, if she was at 100 subscribers, no one would care about her. No one would know who she is. This has a lot to do with how much attention and how big her audience has gotten. Obviously, the Nick Fuentes thing, from what I can sort of see, it just seems incredibly naive and ignorant in a lot of ways, but I don't think she is like intentionally racist in any way. I just think it's a little bit of naivety and ignorance. That's my opinion. But I just think a lot of people, the same people that are sort of attacking her, they're in a weird way profiting off of her because they want her shine. Even with the women that go on her show, like Afro was saying, it's a mutual sort of selfishness. They're using her audience to grow their reach on social media, and she has them on, whether you believe it's malintent or they're just available people, and they sort of expose themselves and they act a fool. They turn a viral moment. Some girls do, some girls don't. Sometimes the ones that do typically are Black people, and there's Asians. She's had all ethnicities on there, but there's other people that go on there. It's just a lot of times the most unruly of the bunch are sadly Black women. So I think there's a lot of just, people in this space just really sort of like turning their back on them, like MTR and Melanie. I think it was just totally uncalled for. You were with her like a week before. You were with her like in private, and then you just went out and just like denounced her and all this stuff. You could have called her. You could have texted her. It just seems so like fake. I don't know. I don't know. That's my opinion.
When the offense is in public, you got to deal with it in public, bro.
Man, that's why what they don't understand is like, yo, someone can disrespect Black people publicly, but we gotta handle it privately.
Yes.
Let me ask you. Hold on. All right, let me ask you something, brother. When Kanye West, right, said what the fuck he said, excuse me, when Kanye West said what he said about those Jews, right? Regardless if you agree with it or not. What happened, sir? Did they go behind closed doors with Kanye? Because Kanye knows Jews, right? Kanye,
yeah, he probably should have handled that whole situation.
Did they go behind closed doors and handle it? Or did they handle it up front in the street?
He should have gone behind closed doors and addressed the specific Jews that he had a deep hatred for, and not broadly went out and said, it's just seemingly.
That wasn't the question, sir. I said, what did the Jews do? How did they handle it?
Oh yeah, they canceled him from popular society.
So
I understand I understand the point you're trying to make, but I don't think that's applicable to this specific point. I think that the people that were with her a week before, the people, Melanie and MTR, they were with her in her studio a week before. Just hit her up, be like, hey, like, what did you know what you were doing? Did you understand this about Nick Fuentes? Like, not everyone is so up to date with every little opinion and figure on the internet.
So hold on. So at 26, I'm sorry, brother, my bad.
And I just want to say one more thing. These are independent creators and audiences. This is not BT where someone's platforming somebody. Everyone has to work and acquire their audience. I think a lot of people are jealous and they don't work as hard as her and other people in the space. She's an independent creator just like everyone else.
Stop.
Let him finish. Yeah, let him finish, because I know this can get a little heated. And let's try to remember too that the topic is the Black Manosphere sellout and what's next. So I know we spent a few minutes on just Pearly, which is fine if that's what you guys want to talk about. But just remember
I'll focus on that. I think the Black Manosphere, a lot of people haven't grown the way they think they should have, and they see this girl growing, and it's jealousy. This has little to do with her skin color. I promise. This is jealousy. If they're at 1.4 million and she was at 10,000, they would not care about this woman. They wouldn't give a damn about this. There would just be another random ass person on YouTube. They care because she has she's filled the hole of Kevin Samuels in a lot of ways in this space. And it's sad to see, I would have loved it to be a Black person spreading these ideals and regurgitating a lot of these talking points. I would have loved it to be some other Black creator, but unfortunately she did the work at a perfect time and she garnered an audience. And a lot of the audience is Black people.
LAR, are you there?
I just heard a lot of similar talking points that are just disturbing.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, you can't say that it's just jealousy when the lady said something that was totally dismissive of the entire culture.
LAR, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Let's let. I think it was 18th letter that I said, and then an apologetic B1 will go.
It was me. I wanted to say it's certain things that Ike Victor said and Afro Disciple said that I agree. Me personally, I've been subscribed to you for quite some time, Shay, and I applaud to you. I always say thank you for letting me up on your platform, and we have to give people like Shay her flowers because of the work that you've put in as far as the quality of content on exposing some of the issues that we have to work on within the Black community, as well as sisters like Crimson Cure and DNeika Marie and various sisters through the space. Me personally, I never subscribed to just Pearly things. The only thing I know of is her clips from what I've seen online. And I would say it's a double-edged sword because do I think just Pearly things is a capitalist? Yes. Do I think that she thinks typically of most of a lot of people within her group when it comes to a lot of Black issues as far as what we're dealing with reparations or different things? Absolutely. But me personally, within hearing what she had to say, in my personal opinion, I've heard worse coming from women within our space than I've heard from just Pearly things. I've heard worse coming from other women within our group, whether we want to talk about women within our group that have avatars of Black men hanging from trees, or women that say that they get a satisfaction on seeing Black men roughed up by the police. We have I don't want to mention her name on your content creator, but everyone knows the content creator who actually brought up a white man to justify a lot of her talking points about Black men. We've seen, I can name you 10 to 12 to 15 channels that have 300,000 to no less than 100,000 subscribers, where these people say the most degrading, disparaging things about us as Black men, no similar than the Stormfront forum. So, like, I think just Pearly things, though. Of course, I don't agree. like a lot of brothers on here, I don't agree with anything that she said, but I've heard a lot worse coming from women within our group than I've heard from Just Pearly things. Me personally, also think that with her being a white woman within this space and starting up her channel based off of Kevin Samuels' talking points, I believe she was going to grow regardless. I don't believe that 1.3 million make up a majority of Black men that are her subscriber count. With her being white, we know that she have universal appeal. With it also being a manosphere of white men who are talking about their issues, it's also, she has viewership from a lot of other groups. So to act like that she's been the leader of the Black manosphere, I find that to be a little bit obscene. And I think that our biggest gripe that we need to worry about is the anti-black people within our group. We gotta take care of them first, because we can see Just Pearly things coming a mile away. But the problem is the people that wear our uniform, that's been in this space for a very long time, spreading this vitriol and hatred towards Black men and shaping the minds of these young Black women subscribers that listen to them. Shout out to the brother Accountable Commentary, who did a video of it was in the comment section where a young lady said, "Oh, I'm going to, after listening to this content, I'm going to break up with my Black boyfriend because I just don't trust him." And this is a young man that hasn't done anything to show any distrust, but due to her listening to the content coming from these content creators, whether it be divestment or divestment adjacent, this is the type of, mentality that she's developing by listening to some of the content on YouTube. So how I feel, of course, we're going to defend sisters like Shay. We're going to defend sisters like Crimson Cure. But for a lot of people that's jumping up to say, with the whole Just Pearly thing situation, I mean, I didn't expect much to begin with. So I don't know what to say about that. Did the Black manosphere sell out? I do believe that it's not it's elder statesmen, but I don't believe it's leaders. But I do believe that was that I think that should have been addressed, and that should have been addressed directly with what she was saying. And I don't think it's any excuses for that at all. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Okay, so I think LAR movement, you're next, and then Unapologetic B1, you're next.
How y'all doing? When it comes to the Black manosphere, a lot of y'all don't even know how it started, so I'm gonna just be quick with that. Basically, it was a hit list put out on a bunch of Black male content creators. And out of that group, a bunch of us came together and we just had each other's backs. It's a bunch of different types of people, different personalities, but everybody is for the betterment of Black men, pretty much. Does everybody get along? No. Does everybody talk about the same thing? No. Now, when it comes to the selling out part, the core of the Black manosphere, the core people who was there from the beginning, and Crimson Cure was actually around in the beginning, which y'all don't know. There's a list of who's in the Black manosphere. We've been blatant about who's in the Black manosphere. But one of the things that brothers don't want to hear is y'all don't really pay attention. So you put people in it that's convenient for you at the moment, but we've already told you who's there. Some people in the space do flop in and out, but you know the core people because we've told you. The list has been out for years. Now, the one thing that we do know is people can make Black manosphere content that are not in the Black manosphere, and they can get a good following and people will listen to them. We knew that about Black men a long time ago. So a lot of the times when you put things on Black manosphere, you got to understand us as content creators. We know if a non-Black person says it or if a Black woman says it, you'll listen. Y'all share that kind of material. You talk about that. Y'all don't actually, when a brother was talking about people not necessarily supporting the space, we already know that some of you guys, y'all are afraid to, y'all like the Black manosphere, but y'all afraid to support the Black manosphere like you would somebody who's saying the same thing. So we've already conceded that, okay, that's fine. There are people who blew up in the space. Absolutely. But this space is a collective of a bunch of people. See, when we were pushing guys to get jobs in trucking, y'all wasn't there. IT, y'all wasn't there. Parental rights, y'all wasn't there. a lot of people showed up when Kevin blew up, and that's dope. It's no big deal. But at one of the core things that we've said about Black men in particular is we need to actually be more focused, because you're going to get all these people that say and do different things that you agree with and you don't agree with. That's what actually brings people to this space, because there's a plethora of different type of Black men. We're not a monolith. But, you know, as far as you can't really sell out in this space, because this space is pretty much shadow banned. And even Kevin was shadow banned, and he would say it before he blew up.
Yeah, that's true. That's that. Shadow bans are real. Shadow bans are definitely a real thing. And I mean, there's been actually know of a woman who's, I think she's doing like her PhD, and her study was specifically on technology and how it there's been a lot of evidence to show that certain kinds of content are more highly promoted, other kinds are suppressed. So, you know.
So can I ask LAR something?
I'm open. Shoot.
Oh, so how do you explain this rabid defense that it's almost like unconsciously these guys are putting up for Pearl? Like, how do you explain people going out of their way to say, well, she's our advocate, she's going to be, you know, going and talking to politicians for us, she's our best chance to do whatever? How do you explain all of that? Like, how do you mesh that together? Like, I get she's not part of the Black Manosphere.
Exactly.
But how do you explain these brothers doing this?
Well, all of those brothers who said that aren't in the Black Manosphere. That's the issue. Like what's happening now, and it doesn't bother most of us, but what's happening now is you have people who want to interject themselves in the Black Manosphere, and we don't know them. Now, certain people, like say Obsidian, we know Obsidian can be a contrarian. He's gonna buck whatever. We already know that. And if you've watched him long enough, you know that too. So is that expected? Yeah. Do some of y'all like it? No, we get it. But you get random people coming up like this space has been around for almost a decade. These last year or two, there have been a bunch of random people who, for some odd reason, say they're here. We've never seen or heard them before in our lives. So all of these people just say they're a Black Manosphere. We're like, bro, do you know this dude? No.
Okay. Okay.
Why would Black men send a white woman to represent them?
So LAR, I had a conversation with BGS, and he told me that Pearly, I don't want to misquote him, but his live is still up, you know, claiming that she would be a good tool for the Black Manosphere politically. And I just, for the life of me, I couldn't make that connection. But he got out of his body to really advocate for that. Like, how do I reconcile that?
I got you.
Unless the argument is about like parental rights, because she's very heavy on parental rights, and that's the only thing I can think of. It was just she was specifically going to be out there talking on behalf of Black men. That's what was said.
If you're expecting white women have undermined affirmative action, equal opportunity, and all these things. Like, if you're expecting, forget her being white. Like, if you're expecting a 24-year-old Pearly things to go talk to Congress, you're kidding yourself.
No, that's not the thing.
Okay, so real quick, guys. I have some people in the back I'm trying to bring on, and it looks like I have a limit here. So
I'll go ahead and leave since I was the first one up.
Okay. Okay, sorry guys. I have to figure out how to get
people on. Yeah, me too. And me too, Stu. Thank you very much, and y'all fellas have a good night. But can I ask one more question?
You can ask
one more question. Hey, LAR. Did you ever hear of a website called UPA?
UPA?
Yeah, United Players of America.
No.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. I just wanted to ask that question. All right, then y'all have a good night now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep, bye-bye.
Okay. Sorry guys, I wanted to make sure I let people in. What's going on? Edward Anderson, and then I have our pain. I know Unapologetic B1 has been patiently waiting So feel free to weigh in, and then I'll read the super chats, and then Edward, you can.
Yeah, good evening, brothers. Thank you, Sherry, for bringing me in.
Yeah.
I just have one thing to say. One learning that we Black as a community must take into consideration. There's what we call code. No matter what we are doing in the so-called Manosphere or Black Manosphere, we should have what we call and consider as code. You might do whatever you have to do, but don't undermine the Black family in any way, shape, or form. There is an African adage that I will beat my child and pull my child in. But if an enemy comes from outside, the family must stand to fight the enemy. We can't sit as a family and we understand that the whole entire society is hemmed against us. And we allow the excuse we make that all people within our community say crap about us, that is family business. But when you have, the question I want to ask is this: how many other people out of the Black family have you heard them talking against what she said? None. They are either mute or they say nothing. But this internal wrangling that we are having amongst ourselves is not helping us. We should have code. We can't equate certain things that someone will walk into the family, that a certain group of people have been really undermining and suppressing the Black family, and we allow it and justify it by saying that, oh, what about other people amongst our group saying also crap about us? No. If your child is bad, it's your child. You discipline a child from the house and keep the child inside. If someone is coming from outside to confront the family, you work together to make sure that the enemy from outside stays from outside. You know your enemy from within, and you can deal with your enemy from within. So this is what we have to consider as code. There should be coded aspects within the Black community. The family is trying to heal. So we can't allow someone to walk in the family and shit on the family and we sit quiet and we try to defend that crap. No, it doesn't work that way. And some of us are justifying that it's jealousy. It is not about her numbers. We don't care. If she had 2 million or 3 million, that's fine. But the moment you interject something that tries to divide the Black family, talking about one other group of Black family is doing better than another Black family, we're trying to heal as a group of people. Why should we allow that? We need to call out that crap. If you are coming into a Black space to try to divide us, and you're part of the family, we all should have a code to say that it cannot happen here. And there is no point in defending that. We don't see another group of people. We only see it amongst us. We are fighting amongst ourselves. But our own group of people are not talking anything about it. They are mute. They are all silent. Nobody has condemned what she said. And that's how they respond to it. But we are here fighting and some are defending her. Someone says jealousy. No, there are things you can't say within the Black space. You can't split us. We are trying to heal. You can't come in and try to undermine us from within, and you look at what is, the pain of Black people and you negate it, and then we're trying to defend that. No. That's what we have to come up. We should come clear. It's not about her numbers. It's about the fact that she tries to divide us and she's trying to use the Black family, and she gives that, we can't consider that as ignorance. She's growing the states. She knows what the state is. She understands the internal policy of the state, and we should see it as it is and stop making excuses for that. We should be on code. Thank you, family.
No, thank you, Edward. I think you're next. If you want to respond.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. This
is tiring. I'm gonna start off here. First of all, just off the last dude, what he said. I'm gonna just say we're not a family. The Black community is like broken glass. That is how many divisions they occupy, at least in the African American community. And there are certain people that would look at somebody just like him and say he doesn't belong in here just off the strength of his accent. And I'm not talking about this panel. I'm just, for example, the Jason Black, the first person that brought this up and didn't bring this up to jump on Pearl. The person that weaponized this, in my personal opinion, to dismantle and attack anybody that was associated with Kevin Samuels. This is why when you look at everybody that's been called out by name and targeted, they also happen to have supported and been people Kevin Samuels knowingly associated with, right? He is the one that sat on this for a week. 2 weeks. He is the one that brought it up, and I've supported Jason Black for longer than almost anybody on this panel, probably other than LAR, for years now. He is the one that brought this up, and he is the one that said the lie that Pearl came from the space that everybody, including people that are in this space, is repeating. And so why I'm on here right now. So the divisive shot was thrown from him. Nobody is saying that. That's number one. Number two, that is the same man that caused non-ADOS people tethers. Now, y'all ain't never heard the word tether come out of my mouth. Y'all know I got plenty of Jamaican, Nigerian, in particular folks that listen to me. And although I do support FBA and ADOS, the main reason I support that is because we have unique problems as African Americans that we need to fix, as well as we need to protect certain things that it belongs to our identity, because we have a big issue with that, right? So, but it's not a weapon that is designed to attack non-ADOS people. So the very people you're defending are the very people that would throw you under a bus and back that shit up just off the accent that you had. Just remember that, you know? And so there's a lot of moving parts to this. And people, first of all, let me start off here. I'm going to continue to say the position I've been saying. Anybody that insinuates that Pearl came from the Black Manosphere, they are not misinformed. They are a liar, and they are knowingly lying. Like, I would ask anybody here, when is the first time you ever saw a Just Pearly Things video? And really any Caucasian person. And then what Manosphere channel did you see that on? I'm talking about mention, not even her was on it. I actually yesterday went through all of her stuff, which was very annoying, by the way, but I did it. And I noticed that a year ago, she showed up on Fresh and Fit's channel. And then before that, she was doing videos on Kevin. Then fast forward to, like, I'm talking about Black people. We're not talking about Valuetainment. We're not talking about the Purple Pill Show. Fast forward, first time she hit Obsidian was 5 months ago in October. That was after she was on the Lapeef Network, which, by the way, people associate with the Black Manosphere, even though he has specifically said he is not in it. Also, she was on I forget now, but the Lapeef Network was where she made the big splash. That's where people first started talking about her in this space, because people casually watch the Lapeef Network because they produce a lot of videos that kind of prove our talking points. Then you had the situation with Hafiz, which was around that same time. A lot was going on in those 2 months. And then with Hafiz, that's when we started talking about her again. Why? Because we were really talking about Hafiz, because Hafiz is on that Derrick Jackson team, and he tried to play red pill, blue pill, and he ended up looking stupid and blowing up his channel. Then you had the situation with the Me Too thing that Ramil brought up, and Ramil brought up, and then that was kind of a conversation. And then you get to where we are now, which what is my point to saying all this? Nobody's talking about her unless she's associated with another Black person. Nobody was talking about her before Jason Black brought her up. And Jason Black before brought up Coach Greg Adams, brought up Fresh and Fit, and he did the same thing, but it didn't hit right. But with the white woman, we know how y'all are about white women. Even though Black women politically associate with white women in much deeper than Black men do, Black men don't even associate with white women like that except to have sex with them, to be honest. Versus Black women deal with them in a lot of other different vectors. And yet it's the thing, I don't want to go on and on, but this is what angers me. Two things. One, I don't have to qualify my Blackness to nobody, period. And I'm tired of Black women insinuating, and Black men, but most of the Black men are doing it to cater to Black women, insinuating that we have to be on trial. The Manosphere is literally being court-martialed in order to somehow, if you sacrifice us, the Black community be better. As if the dudes that are already messing with Black women, as far as putting up with their stuff, already, like, they need that to have that happen. And the other thing is, nobody is really substantiating this claim that Pearl came from our space. Everybody is just running along with it like the telephone game. And there's people that's been in this space internally that know that we don't even talk about white people like that in this space. They are actively creating a situation for views, asking questions about, based on, like, on here, you had Obsidian. Obsidian does not speak for us. And most of y'all know that most people don't rock with Obsidian like that. Obsidian is his own person. He deals with his own stuff, and the people that rock with him do. But this idea that Obsidian is a representation of what the Black Manosphere is about, the truth is most of the pillars of the Black Manosphere don't even like each other like that. And a lot of them have had an issue with Obsidian. So that's what I'm going to say for now. If anybody wants to ask me a question about anything, absolutely. I'll wait to answer the question the brother before asked about why did people start saying to get behind Pearl politically, because that's a valid question, but I've already taken up too much time. So I'll fall back for now. Appreciate it. Let me get the floor.
No, thank you, Edward. You know, it is interesting that you mentioned, because I started off originally with this point, and perhaps you can correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe I'm ignorant on this, but I told them when I was introduced to the Manosphere, I first connected with Obsidian, and I quickly heard that he was one of the original, I guess, founding fathers of the Black Manosphere space. So I just assumed, I think partially because of that, he's been in there for so long. He was one of the originators, him, I think, and O'Shea, BGS, if I'm not mistaken. They're the ones that kind of started it. Maybe I wrongly assumed that he was somewhat of a spokesperson, which is why I tend to lean on him when it comes to, okay, what's going on in the Manosphere? What are some different ideals that you guys have? I know he has the Black Manosphere meetup. So maybe I'm wrong. I kind of thought he was one of the unofficial leaders because of how long he's been in the space and, you know, what he's done. Maybe that was wrong of me, because it sounds like from what you're saying that you're like, not everyone considers him a leader. And I know the space is a monolith, but
honestly, people are revisiting the conversation to go after him and remove him from the space. Like, people are seriously revisiting, and that rarely happens. Like, there's people, like, for instance, O'Shea and Angry Man have had like a war between them, you know, for a while. Now that's died down as they both moved on. I'm definitely glad for Angry Man's recent growth, because he definitely deserves it. But I rock with O'Shea as well. And honestly, the type of like I'm not gonna bring up people's personal business, because I'm not gonna bring other YouTubers in it. There's a reason he used to be on certain platforms that he's not. It's because certain people don't want to be associated with the stuff he does. The thing about it is, I can explain the separations that I've had with him, because I've told him directly certain things I don't agree with. And I don't want to go into all of the once upon a time, but this is what I will say. Obsidian says directly himself. First thing I will say this about Obsidian. Obsidian only dates Black women. That's all he's always been. I've asked him directly about this. This is back when SYSBM was really getting drowned, really getting attacked in the space. And he said that directly. And Obsidian, and I will say this on Obsidian's behalf, Obsidian is pro-Black, more pro-Black than 90% of you all calling him a coon. Like for real. If you actually look at the receipts, look at the families come from, what he's done, you know, in Philly and stuff like that, he's more pro-Black than most of y'all. Like, if you actually look at receipts, Obsidian has interviewed white women before. Obsidian originally comes from the White Manosphere. And one of the reasons Obsidian came with the other group, the like 4 or 5 groups, because remember, the Manosphere existed before the 1.0. SWP is a part of that. We're not going to get in that history. The point is, when there was a real true split between the Black Manosphere and White Manosphere, because the white boys couldn't stop talking about BBC and why their women are, you know, and that was getting in the way of the stuff we agreed upon, which is, you know, child support, the divorce stuff that white dudes are dealing with, but apparently it's really bad now. So why they're revisiting this stuff, is why someone was listening to Kevin. It was BGS, this is not in any particular order, by the way. BGS, Obsidian, Angry Man, and O'Shea. And the reality is, the conservative ones were really, Angry Man he's a street conservative kind of stuff, so I'm not gonna take that away from him. But the ones that are really, really conservative was O'Shea and Obsidian. So you have this political contingent of folks that are seen as anti-Black because they're conservative, because you have the liberal, the liberal woke stuff that kind of coincides with that. And then you have the conservative, and Obsidian definitely rocks with Thomas Sowell. That camp. You see that in Fantastic. You see that in a couple other people. And that's always kind of been there, but it was a lot more Democratic leaning people in there. They got defeated and they got moved into the pro-Black space because they couldn't substantiate a lot of their arguments, because they couldn't solve these problems that we were talking about. So they ended up bouncing. And some of these people had big channels like New Possibility, stuff like that. Anyway, long story short, long story short, here's my issue. If you want to, it's not your fault that people are using Obsidian as a weapon. I will say that. And I get, honestly, that's what you thought. Courtney was the same way, thought the same thing. It was the same thing. Because Obsidian will talk, but there's other folks like BGS, Angry Man. O'Shea is kind of out of the game right now and doing his own thing. But I would say BGS, that's why he has BGS for women. And most people will probably accept what BGS says more. The issue is, and I'll say this and I'll fall back, Obsidian is for himself first. That is what he has said. He is here to make money first. Now, he does have things he believes in. He does want to facilitate a conversation between black men and black women, actually more so than some of the rest of us. But Obsidian does not take into account the space and what we all represent. See, I will talk about what I think, but also what everybody else kind of generally agrees on. When you talk to him, you're not hearing that. Really, it's what Obsidian said, and they're remixing that to say, whoa, this is what the Black Manosphere believes. And that's kind of why BGS made that video, because it's kind of like people have been here long enough to know that Obsidian is not the only dude. Now, maybe we didn't make that clear, and that's our fault, which is why people are revisiting that conversation as far as kind of disavowing him for real, for real. And I'm not even talking about Pearl. I'm talking about as a thing of, because honestly, on the Pearl stuff, like I said, he's more pro-black than most of y'all. Now, I won't, maybe not Jason Black, but most of them. So this idea, he's talked to white women before. This is the third time he talked to Pearl. Like, so again, it's not that big of a deal. And the reason I came up here was really talk about this thing about black men not wanting to deal with quiches or quote unquote black women. Y'all in this space is proof that is crap. Y'all have never had to compete with white women for black male audiences in here. Am I lying, or is that true since you've been in here? Have you seen another white chick running around? Hell, how many mixed chicks, how many light-skinned chicks are really in the space? Other than Jessica X, which we haven't seen what she looks like, so we can't substantiate it. Now that I'm thinking about it, you got Sweet Melody Speaks, and that's it that I know of that's light-skinned. The rest of them are classically black.
Well, you know, I appreciate you guys. Well, just kind of letting me know in general, just the history of how things went. Like I said, I don't pretend to be an expert on the black at all. That's why I wanted to have, and
I can't expect somebody to know all these things. That's why part of me is kind of like, okay, you said you honestly didn't know. Okay, I can see how you would have thought that, because Obsidian is the one that wants to talk more than any of the other kind of pillars. So he'll be the one to kind of be willing to talk to women, because he wants to build his channel, and he loves controversy. Everybody else doesn't love controversy like he does. He feeds off of it. He believes in it. So I didn't consider that point. But I will tell you that there are those that do know and they choose to do it anyway. But I haven't considered that point, so I'll concede that, because I can't reasonably expect anybody to have a PhD in Manosphere politics. Even somebody like FD Signifier, I can't expect that. So
can I say something really quickly?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to say really quickly, Ms. Shay, and shout out to Edward Anderson being on the panel. I just because like I said, you've been doing a lot of content. You was covering the divestors and different things like that. And I'm trying to figure out what a lot of these people, and I'm no just Pearly Things fan. I don't support that. I ride with my people 100%. But where was all of this energy for the women that was calling us nakers and bullet bags? And some of these women that are online are nurses. Some of these women are prosecutors and lawyers and various things like that. I see the whole community up in arms with just Pearly Things, which is expected, the type of tactics that she's using, because these have been tactics that has been repeated over and over again with the black community, from our music to our entertainment shows, from everything that you can possibly think of. It's always some person of another group that's lurking in the background waiting to capitalize off of us, which we can see them coming a mile away. But where was all of this energy for all of these women that had the most heinous things? No matter how much I've seen in the space, no matter how much black men try to defend a lot of women within our community, it's always people just tend to ignore that and give them their behinds to kiss. And that's the thing I don't understand for the women that was calling us nakers, bullet bags, and I want all black men deleted. And these are people that was once pro-black. They got hundreds of thousands of subscribers with their channels. I'm trying to figure out if we had this much energy to shut down some of these people, we'll be moving on one accord because we can handle it. Just Pearly things. We dealt with this numerous times over and over again. So I was wondering, and also Edward.
Yeah, I've talked long enough. Let somebody else get the mic. I mean, I could answer it, but yeah.
Yeah, so real quick, let me, well, shout out to Crimson Cure for being here. It's always a pleasure to have lever content. I mean, obviously, we have to go here. So thank you for being here. It says, I just like this argument that there was never any smoke for the hyenas that talk reckless. We've collectively had smoke for that. So I want to piggyback off of that comment because I think it was 18th later. You raised some points like where was all the smoke when those women were doing that? To be clear,
I'm sorry, Ms. Shay, not to interrupt you. I just want to say shout out to you and Crimson Cure because I've known you all to cover this and other content creators. I'm talking about all of these people that's making 14 videos about JPT. I mean, like everyone's up in arms. Where was the energy from these people? But not you and Crimson Cure and other content creators.
So it is a valid point. It is a valid point, but I'll offer this as a consideration. And this is not to undermine anything that was said, because deleting black male babies is completely and totally unacceptable. With that said, the likes of a Cynthia G, who has close to 100,000 followers, is nowhere near a Just Pearly Things, who has almost 1.4 million followers, and has been featured on different mainstream audiences, articles, things of that nature. So I think it comes down to a level of exposure. There's just so much more exposure that JPT has than per se a Cynthia G. I'm not to say that what she said is right, but I think partially when you're talking about why is there all this emphasis here, but there isn't as much there, it's like I think some of it just comes down to basic exposure. You comparing somebody that has 100,000 versus a million, there really is no comparison. They're totally
hold on. Well, technically, she's had more. Well, even still, like to go directly at what Crimson Cure said, first, I disagree. I'm gonna just say it straight up. I agree, but I also disagree. Number one, Kendra has given a lot of smoke, and that's part of the cocktail of the stuff that she's talked about. And as a result, black men have definitely supported her. That's why one of the many reasons she's got a subscriber count that she's got right now. But if I take her as a barometer and say, okay, this is like what giving smoke is, very few people, to be straight up, Shay, you have given a lot of smoke too in your own way, like with data and stuff, and you hearing this stuff from the first time. I don't know if that's me, that. And yes, Cynthia G was on TV. But most people are not giving the same kind of smoke that Kendra's giving. Most of the people ignore it. Most of the black men here, truth be told, when Umar got embarrassed on Fox Soul, a lot of the pro-blacks ignored that. They kept that hush hush. There are actually women, Q Butter, that actually backs up Cynthia G. There's actually a lot of black men that back up Cynthia G. Like, I'm very confident that out of them 10,000 subscribers, those 100,000, at least 10 to 15% of those are black men. And they know what she says. And so, and not even just her. The truth is, Cynthia G isn't even the worst of them. There's a lot more that they say a lot worse stuff, like for real. So she's just the tip. So I get what she's saying and what she has done, but the truth is the women as a group, no, they don't. Not to any level as to how they have gone at Pearl on this. And that doesn't take nothing away from what they did or what she said. But truth be told, Cynthia G is a lot more known in this space than Pearl. And quite frankly, I put that on the pro-blacks too, because they go out of their way not to say nothing about Cynthia G, even though Cynthia G tried to play pro-black in the beginning. So they know who she is. We can agree to disagree on that, but yeah, ain't nobody wilding out like they've been wilding out over this. I mean, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say with that, because these are channels that have tried to get black men's and also a lot of women that agreed. They've gotten these channels banned. They've gotten a lot of people shut down. They have been on an onslaught attack to tear down a lot of these channels. Also, regurgitating hate speech. Practically like outright hate speech. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, those are interesting points. I know people mentioned that Cynthia G was on Fox. That's true. She was on Fox. My only point was, wondering, if some of this again has to do with just a level of exposure. And at the end of the day, I don't know. I will say I recall, for example, when she was editor of a major publication. I can't think of it exactly, but it was a Black woman who basically said, like, Black men can't even die right. And there wasn't really any pushback. And this is a woman who was directly connected to media. And I checked her account a few months ago, and she'd been promoted. So there was misandry in the media.
No, because when women do it, when women say this stuff, let me explain something. When women say this stuff, it's seen as them blowing steam. Black women are allowed to say anything and everything, and it's never going to have the same kind of energy. This is why on my channel, I said, if Black women start going after other Black women, Black men are not going to protect you, because Black men have a chip that designates that they cannot go after Black women, even if a Black woman is harming another Black woman. So verbally, this is why you've traditionally, except post Kevin, never seen a lot of women really jump up there like that, because there's plenty of women that have come before you all that these chicks will literally gang up on a female and eviscerate them to the point of like insanity. There's a reason they are afraid of a lot of even the even though Chrissy and Paris and them have bigger channels than Cynthia, they will literally, and I'm not over there like that. So I know dudes that are, and they will say this stuff, and I've seen it. They will literally have streams in the middle of the night and get rid of those streams, because if they go up against Cynthia, even though she doesn't have the biggest subscribership, a lot of their audiences are around Cynthia. They are afraid of her. Like, you don't believe me? Look at Crystalline Carrison. Crystalline Carrison was pretty much one of the originators of the swirl movement. She got the mic removed from her because of that. Like, because of women like Cynthia. Like, and even though she had just as much credibility. So when you have women that try to play in the middle, this is why when you hear the mammy, I keep telling you, when a Black woman calls another Black woman a mammy, she is calling you an NIGGRER lover. And that's something that Black men just cannot psychologically face. They just can't, because they see their mothers in these women. And that's something that's why it's so easy to come down on us, because the alternative is too painful. And if you don't believe me, look at how big Kevin grew, and look at, like, when Kevin talked about dating outside your race, look at how them dudes that called in sounded. Those are dudes of different ages. So Black women is seen as they're blowing off steam, they're mad. They are entitled to say this, because ultimately Black men have a guilt complex as a group that they deserve this, because Black women are not in the position that they should be, because Black men are so weak in that. Black men really believe this, and this is one of the primary things of our space is to get. Look, I am not any kind of expert. I'm just a nigga talking, and I tell people to go to the proper people all the time. But this is one of the reasons why this space is needed, because the self-loathing that a lot of, shout out to Culture Clinician, by the way, because he is, the self-loathing, Black men suffer from two things: a guilt complex that is very deep and, quite frankly, ingrained as a boy, and an ego complex that Black women have learned how to take advantage of. But the guilt complex is why they let Black, that's why they'll never have smoke with CDG. In fact, a lot of dudes will defend that, even though the data shows that that's not true. And so it's crazy when you really look into it, but it's not about exposure. They know who she is. And like you said, there's other examples of women saying these things, and it never gets the same kind of heat. It just doesn't. Even in celebrity women, when they say certain things, if it was in the reverse, folks would be wilding out. But they're allowed.
Let me say this.
Okay, so to answer to this question.
Okay, otherwise, is that LAR movement?
It was.
You sound like Game Changer.
Okay, yeah, because I want to let Game Changer go. And he's been hanging out, and then roll second Exodus.
Okay, thank you. I mean, the question is false, because the question assumes that people don't address, let's say derelict women in and outside of this space. Prior to Pearly, that's what we were accused of only doing. We was accused of only addressing derelict women and not addressing some of the other issues that plague Black men. So I find it false. I mean, like, each and every single person I've addressed, and Edward has addressed, and and others have done so. So I don't really get it. Like, I mean, I went at crystalline keratin, you know, by the way, crystalline keratin had liposuction. Like, who coined that? I mean, like, I went hard against each and every single one in the space, got bored, and then I start going after YouTube.
No, the argument was that women don't do it.
Oh, is that what the argument was?
Yeah, the argument is, the women, and I get why you thought that based on what I said. And the argument is that women don't do it as much as like what this Pearl situation is.
Because I've always okay. I'm gonna just say this. I've always
like DNeika and
DNeika, Shay.
These are exceptions. These are exceptions.
DNeika, Shay, the Crimson Cure, of course, women like that, but.
And they've all been rewarded by subscribership, by the way.
Exactly. I will agree. We support these women 100%. A lot of brothers support these women. I have supported these women, but I don't see the same energy and vitriol from everyone that's up in arms with the Pearl thing, which I'm no fan of Pearl. I don't agree with anything that Pearl said, especially regarding to our community. I'm just saying I have not seen the same energy that with some of these women that have said most damaging, disparaging things and have literally tried to destroy the manosphere and literally are in positions of power to
I get what you're saying. Let me say this
real quick. I'm gonna get out of here.
Let me say this. I get where you're going with this. The energy that I'm sensing isn't for Pearl. So each of the women,
exactly.
And let's start with like Six, DNeika, and who did it together, and then what's her name, Courtney Michelle, you know. So they had like initial smoke for Pearl, and then people like Obsidian, you know, reattacked, and Tommy reattacked, and then all the energy went to Obsidian and Tommy. So they didn't really have much energy for Pearl to begin with. I mean, they had energy and they addressed it. But after that, it was really just, you know, addressing those type of dudes, the type of dudes that was attacking them.
Here, let me say this, and I'm gonna be out of here because I know it's a lot of people probably gonna come. Speaking with the title and everything else, right? The Black Manosphere itself is a treasure trove of content, to the point that other people can use the exact same content and make more money than the people who actually created it first. So when people say they're attacking the space, a lot of times people are attacking the trying to get the content creators out of the way because they can basically move on with their material. That's what's going on. So
I agree.
Because like the brothers talked about, you know, the ladies who do it, great channels, great people, they're dope. But you guys who support the ladies, you do not support the men that did that prior to them and do it now in the same clip. You know why? Because you're scared to do that. See, so what do you think happens when other people looking like, you know what? Oh, if I make it, they'll listen. I'm gonna say the exact same thing. So a lot of times what's going on now is people get upset, but what are you actually getting upset about? That the person that you support turned you off, but the person that you knew it came from, you don't support? What do you think was going to happen? Because what people didn't, the Black Manosphere didn't sell out. You sold out the space from outside of the space. And people who like the material are the people who did it. We knew, I said it earlier. We people who create content in the Black Manosphere know if a black woman says it, if a white guy says it, if a white woman says it, you listen.
Yeah, that's true. And y'all will share the content because if a white chick says something, it's less likely that y'all gonna lose friends on Facebook over it because they'll project that on the white person and not on the person that shared the content. And this is true for black women, and this is one reason, by the way, why black women's channels tend to come in here and tend to do better, because black men will hear it better from black women. This is why, like, strategically, I've always been on the camp that here's the thing: it's going to take too much energy to get rid of a lot of these women, because a lot of black women don't understand, and Danielle will tell you this. This conversation has been had with black women way before a Pearl ever happened, and there's dudes that are always banging the battering ram that women do not belong in this space. That we should attack these women, we should get rid of these women, we should make it as hostile as possible for them to be in here. I have always been against that, because number one, that pretty much proves a lot of what a lot of the naysayers say about us, at least perceptionally. And number two, there's a value that they can have, because a lot of these dudes, they're not gonna hear from a black man because they too far gone. They're gonna have to hear from a woman, and once they hear from a woman, it will move them more. Plus, a lot of these women can aggregate black male audiences. So if these women play ball better, kind of like panels like what we're doing now, then there's exposure that you're gonna have after the fact anyway. This is the argument I made with Obsidian got flamed, because people forget this. Obsidian got flamed for trying to introduce DNeika in the space. People forget that, since he just loves white women all of a sudden. So the argument is, but that's always so. The point is that a lot of the dudes support black women. There's a reason you don't really see a lot of white women around here, because black men don't support white women. In fact, I can't tell you how many times in this space black men will say they're not even sexually attracted to white women. I'm not even talking about Pearl. It's about any white woman. Y'all know who you are, and it's fine. So it's this idea. SYSBM is really the kind of difference in that, but SYSBM is their own thing. They're in it, but Mad Bus Driver has said that he's not really a part of the Black Manosphere either. So we have too much like mixture for us to say they're a separate thing. But the issue is, and that's the only reason I'm here, is this idea that the Black Manosphere is worshiping all these quiches. I have shared a lot of women, like as far as a lot of people and a lot of women. I have never shared a white woman on my platform in my community tab. They have all been black women. And anybody that's been on my channel, y'all know Erica Shauna Williams, April Mason. I go way Olivia Alexis Tyler, if y'all go that far back. It has never been a Caucasian woman. And so I'm gonna say this, and I'm really gonna pass the mic, but what really makes me mad is LAR and us. We have sacrificed growth. I've been around here 5 years. I got 3,000 videos in this unlisted. That's how many videos I did, and they all average like an hour, if not more. We have sacrificed so much growth and so much money and so much time, and I make money doing what I do. So not YouTube, but other stuff. To do this for black men, and it is literally like spitting in my face. Every time somebody, a security boss, anytime somebody alludes to the fact that we're just, worshiping white women, like it is literally, I'm gonna tell you, it angers me a hell of a lot more than what Just Pearly thing said. Because at the end of the day, she a white chick with white ideas. And what? Oh, well, you all supported her. No, we didn't. Her audience is coming from a variety of places. Nobody can show the video that talks about Just Pearly things outside of like 5 months ago. So it really makes me mad, because it's a disrespect to the years of things and the ideas, not to mention people taking my shit. And yeah, Kevin's got a couple of my stuff too. With that Find Another Store, yeah, that was me. Sign language, by the way, that's BGS's. Nobody believed. Now, Kevin added the I. But that's not even the original like definition of that. And obviously he had BGS's permission to do that, just to be clear, as well as my permission to do that, because we just wanted the shit out there. It really angers me. It deeply makes me mad, because it's people that are trying to destroy. As far as I'm concerned, this is an attempt to destroy any advocacy for black men. This is what this is. And this is the problem as to why the black community isn't going anywhere. Because black women, as well as you beta dudes, y'all would rather have a gynocracy and feel good than actually compete. And this is actually proof positive of a lot of stuff that we said. Think about it. Black men don't care about what a white chick says like that. That's black women. Because black women have an inferiority complex with white women. You saw it when Pearl went on Anton stuff, how they just couldn't stand her being there. She was one of 3 white women that were there. You can see they were visibly bothered by that before she said anything. And you got me to believe that people weren't waiting for her to say something that they could just run with? Shit. Anyway, I don't mean to curse, but anyway, sorry.
No, you do make a good point about you're like, most black men aren't sitting up there getting all bent out of shape over what a white woman does. That's not really, I think, in the nature of most black men. So there's something to be said there, for sure. Makes some really good points. And I think also goes back to what I said earlier. My initial understanding of the Black Manosphere was essentially trying to advocate for more equality and for rights for men, for Black men, where they have been, systematically undermined, or where things are just, unfair. That's how I understood it, about it being a place for advocacy. And so that's why I was drawn to it. Now, I know there's other niche spaces and there's other conversations and stuff like that, but I ultimately understood it as advocating for maybe policy changes, things of that nature. Then going back to Dr. T. Hassan's, now it's 17 point, I just checked, 17-point political agenda. That's how I understood it to be. So it's like, yeah, of course I would want to support something that's going to bring more equality and more justice as far as, the genders are concerned. And this is kind of why I wanted to have this conversation and say, okay, is this being undermined? Because, in the conversation I had with Mr. Obsidian, where he said the Manosphere was allying with just Pearly things, and my thought was, well, why are you allying with somebody who's against
the Manosphere? Obsidian tried to ally with Fresh and Fit before O'Shea kicked him out. And although I don't think O'Shea had the authority to unilaterally do that, he had. I don't agree that he should have just read out, saying that. I think he jumped the gun on that a little bit, even though most of the black men don't rock with Fresh and Fit. But Obsidian was saying that even after O'Shea did that, he was talking about, well, we should work with Fresh. And so he always is allying with somebody bigger. I mean, he is. So same thing with Kevin. What's the common denominator? You see somebody railgunning up in the algorithm, and if he's seen as an ally, that's a relationship. He's fostering that relationship. That's what he's doing. And truth be told, Obsidian has interviewed white women before Pearl. He's that white feminist that really went against feminism, like the third wave kind, but obviously she lost that fight. I forget. It's one doctor he always mentions. So that's Obsidian. He does his own thing.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah. So, but that allying with Pearl, here's the thing. The men agree on like 80% of stuff. So if you do like marriage reform, like 80% of men, especially like in the manosphere, regardless of race, would agree with that. If you say, should a man get a paternity test? Should a paternity test be government sponsored? And that should be mandatory. It's very few dudes that are going to disagree with that. So the idea of Pearl is, number one, here's the truth. The truth is, number one, you're not getting rid of her. And even BGS said she's being inserted in his opinion, it's a counter to like your Andrew Tates on the white side. Because they need somebody that's going to calm these dudes down, white dudes, and tell them that these women are going to get checked while they come up with whatever cocktail they come up to try to rebalance the system, versus Andrew Tate was saying, fuck it. Red pill versus black pill. And that's why Andrew Tate, one of the reasons he was in jail for 90 days without being charged. And they also locked those women up. My personal opinion, they were trying to get them to flip on them and lie on them. But anyway, my point is, it's beyond just the black stuff. But the thing is, there are man's rights things that we all agree on. The things that we disagree on, like the racial stuff that black men specifically deal with, that's something we'll deal with later. But the truth is, if we got most of the man's rights stuff dealt with, that would help black men significantly. It would. If the schools stop being as feminized, that would help black boys significantly. So when you look at those 17 points that he talks about, most of those points help black men just by the sake of helping men. Now, we're going to go out there and do what black women do and be the pawns so, white men could benefit. No, we're not doing that, because we've seen how that game plays, which is why we over here. But at the same time, people are trying to charge the manosphere up with two things. Number one, creating Pearl, which is a lie. And number two, the fact that we're actively stopping them from dealing with her, which is another lie. Because the truth is, if the black manosphere didn't exist and Pearl was there would be nothing Jason Black or any of these guys to do to stop her or stop what she's doing, because they don't even understand where her views are actually coming from. They're assuming, which is why her channel is growing. So, yeah, that's the answer to that ally thing. It's not about, oh, she's our leader and stuff. No, it's about she can talk to these white women feminists. She's going to do that anyway, regardless whether we like it or not. So what are you going to do? You're going to waste energy crying about it? Now, if you need to check her, then check her. But how many I am done after this. How many dudes are talking? How many people are talking about slavery? How many people, all these videos about Pearl, ain't nobody really talking about slavery, the history of slavery, or Jim Crow. They just talking about what she said, not really putting out there what really happened in their own personal experiences in their own family as far as what they're told. Interesting. Anyway.
Yeah, I talked about that in some of my pre-records. But you know, like to your point, I think a lot of this, truthfully, I think a lot of this is just a distraction. People write an algorithm. You know, that's essentially what's going on. But again, why I wanted to have this conversation is, okay, let's try to get back to the core of what was this space even about and what's going to be going on moving forward. We know this will probably be trending for the next maybe week or two, whatever. And then eventually it'll die off. And then, you know, Black YouTube will have amnesia, and then something else will happen where a white person will say something racist, and then Black folks will get bent out of shape. And then
yeah, but that's no good though.
It always happens.
Let me jump in for a second, man. Yeah. So what I see, and thanks for having me up, Shez. This Pearly chick, she's an excuse. She's not a solution to really anything on any side whatsoever. I see a lot of women using Pearly as an excuse to just go at Black men. And I see a lot of dudes in this space using Pearly as an excuse to just go at Black women. Okay. Look, if the issue is cooning or whatever it is that these dudes are doing, I don't even see why women even need to be involved in that. Black women and all. Like, it's enough dudes like myself, Edward, Game Changer. We done been calling this shit out, and plenty of other people that I'm not even gonna mention their names because they ain't up here. Done called that out. So if this is supposed to be the Black manosphere, whatever, why can't y'all just let the dudes handle it? But for some reason, it's a lot of women feel the need to just go up here, check men, call them all types of names when your target is right in front of you. Pearly. Yeah. Go with her. If you got a problem with her and what she said, check her. Check her. Our issue, for the most part, we could care less about what Pearly said, just like what Edward just said. I can care less about that. Yeah, she's uninformed. She's misinformed. She's a 26-year-old chick with no man, no kids, no real life experience telling people about relationships. You're a damn fool if you care what she has to say anyway. Okay, we could care less. My issue is you got so-called leaders of this space with huge platforms cooning. And that's just a bad example to set for Black men. We got an issue with that. So we need to come to the table and have that discussion, and we need to be talking about solutions and all of that other stuff. But as far as unsubscribe from Obsidian, that's a solution. Women, hey, and that's cool too. That's another thing. I'm like, yo, just ignore them. Just ignore them, just like you ignore her. Either way, I'm not going to use this as an excuse to promote an agenda. I'm not just going to use this to go at the same people that I had issues with before. That's all, and that's really what I'm seeing a lot of. Like, people just looking stupid. They looking at this as an excuse to just go at people they had issues with before.
But it's not just people cooning for Pearl. It's the fact we got a problem in the Black manosphere, if you want to call it that. First of all, nobody crowned her the queen of the Black manosphere. People just looking at her numbers and they're equating that. She said the same bullshit about slavery 9 months ago when her subscriber count was lower and nobody jumped on her. They just ignored her. So, but the problem is with some of us Black folk is that, it's like if you don't say shit the right way that one group wants you to say it, you're automatically on the other end, which is not true. There's nuance to a lot of this shit. So I was on a panel earlier this morning, a Trigger Mike show, and it was so refreshing that not one topic was about the fucking white girl. Excuse my language. We didn't talk about her at all. And that's where we need to get back at. I don't think she's going to break the manosphere. I think we should just kind of keep learning this lesson that somebody from outside could interject just one thing, and we're in a shambles. It's just crazy.
I just want to piggyback on what you're saying, brother. For real though, if this is the Black manosphere, shouldn't no white woman have no bearing on anything you doing?
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Now I heard you up there before caping for that chick, bro. Like for real.
See, that's what I'm saying. You're saying see, now you accuse me of caping for the chick. I said no such thing. That's what I'm saying. We can't even have a nuanced conversation without attacking each other over this shit, though.
I'm not attacking you. I'm not.
Well, you said I was caping. You accused me of caping for her.
Nothing. She shouldn't have no bearing on nothing.
Okay, so how am I caping? Well, let me ask you a question. Okay. Can I ask you a question? How am I caping for her? You accuse me of caping for Pearly things. Can you tell me how I'm caping for her?
Okay.
Please.
So when you ran up on Obsidian's panel the other day, what did you run up for?
What did you run up for?
What did you?
I went up there because I have the same opinion on a Obsidian's panel as I have here. That it's a disgrace and it's disgusting that we're arguing like this chick really matters to anything we need to do. That's what I said there, and you can go back and check it, and that's what I'm saying now. This chick is insignificant to what the freak we got to do. I mean, we got all these lists of issues. How come we don't get on these panels and just go point by point on Dr. T.S. Johnson's his points? Why don't we talk about the solutions more than we're talking about these problems? We're attacking each other over some stupid chick on you know what? Or some chick that said a couple of things that are almost meaningless to us, really. Because we don't treat because we don't act like the small hats. You know, I mean.
Oh, okay, brother. Let me interrupt. Because for the most part, the Black Manosphere isn't really in a frenzy because of Pearl. Pearl was used as an instrument to put the Black Manosphere in a frenzy.
By who?
By Jason Black. You see, Jason Black, he broke the story, but he said, "Oh, the Womenswear did this, the Womenswear did that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." Everything that I said on the topic was in retaliation to this, and really is, I don't know this chick. I had nothing to do with her prior to this. Edward the same, Fantastic the same, Bernard the same, the Manosphere the same. Nothing to do with this chick before this. So really, the frenzy is about more Jason, O'Shea, people like that. It has little or nothing to do with that. So, and even yourself, you're charging the Manosphere up with bringing too much attention to this. However, it wasn't us that brought the attention. Right quick. It was people who pinned this Pearl on the Manosphere. This is just people defending themselves. For the most part, what's going on is people are looking at this as an opportunity to attack others, and then people are defending themselves against said attack.
Yeah, but isn't that the disgraceful part of this, though? Regardless of,
hours. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's our job to protect the reputation of the space. Go ahead, Game Changer.
Yeah, and
I agree with Edward on that.
Game Changer. Obsidian's job to protect the reputation of the space since they started it, but it's them. But no, but it is our job to protect our own reputation, and we are tied to the Manosphere. So yeah, that is what we're doing, and we shouldn't be.
Hold on, and brother, and I'm gonna say this too, brother. Understand the disgrace is with the pro. I hate saying pro-blacks because shout out to Dr. Francis Welting, shout out our league, Dr. John Henry Clark, the YouTube folks, the YouTube pro-blacks. I want to be clear about that. The disgrace, the disgrace is what they did. Because understand that although I do believe in the idea of FBA and ADOS, when you hear people making monkey, I'm not even gonna say which YouTuber did that, and it wasn't Jason, by the way. But if you hear people making monkey sounds to describe an African, some of the way that some of these African Americans have comported themselves has been absolutely disgusting. And the reality of the situation is some of the very women and men talking the most crap. Y'all really don't want us to do a compilation on this crap for real. Because if I wanted to split stuff, I'd force the Pan-Africanists. They'd have to check y'all on that. Because the Pan folks will make y'all do it, with some of the stuff. Because there's folks that's showing receipts on some of the stuff that it's pretty much the same thing with the Asian chicks when the black women come in their passport bros. My point is, dude, if you want to talk about a disgrace, talk about that, because that makes all of us look bad, by the way. That's why people got to aim stuff at the right places. Don't just say vague. It's just mommy and daddy are fighting. No, who is incorrect and where are they incorrect? I'm not saying that's always a easy right or wrong thing, but I see too many people just saying this repetitive stuff, and it's like it has no focus. It's just, I see a lot of stuff on YouTube, I'm upset. Like with O'Shea, I didn't like O'Shea did all the videos, but I explained the fact that he's YouTubing for the algorithm, and I added up why he was doing that to show he's generating views off it. You can disagree with it, but I also add the why to it. What's the solution? Unsubscribe. I unsubscribed from O'Shea temporarily because I'm tired of seeing the Wendy's logo all over my goddamn homepage. I unsubscribe from a lot of people that I like because I'm tired of that crap. And granted, there's people that knew how to talk about Pearl without putting her thumbnail on there. Shout out to y'all. But my point is, we got to start thinking, yo, not just saying, oh, y'all fight this upset. No, go direct to who messed up. Jason Black believes that if he ain't saying it, it ain't legitimate. So nobody belongs on YouTube. I'm gonna say this too. Jason Black don't like a lot of y'all black women. A lot of y'all that single mothers, a lot of y'all that y'all think you cool with him. Y'all gonna run into a buzzsaw just like Jessica X did. That dude is a megalomaniac. He is just like Tommy in a lot of ways. He's just like Tommy. So y'all gonna think y'all cool with him. There's a reason why a lot of pro-blacks don't get along with Jason Black. So anyway.
I got you. I mean, it's like a lot of people are very invested in this thing. And I think we have a job to do just moving forward. And based on what you put out, Shay, no, she's not the queen of the Black Manosphere. We should stop even saying that. She's just not. She's not. You know,
thinkers are not saying that. It's
no, I'm just saying wasn't that the thing on the thumbnail or whatever? Is she?
No, the thing on this thumbnail was about selling out.
I'll go a step further.
Well,
She's on her way
nobody's-
to being the king. Fuck the queen. She about to be the king.
She's not going to be the queen. No, she's not.
Yeah.
No, she's
Because
not.
there ain't no male king. If it
Well,
is,
okay,
man,
so understand there's a channel called The Whatever Show that's 3.92 million subscribers, and they do a similar kind of white version with Fresh and Fit do. Like people, there's other, white people have problems too, and that's not. If you want to see white female fuckery, for instance.
That channel shows you it.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
boy.
I'm not even trying to promote that, but what I'm saying is that stuff is out there. Everything ain't, it's like when we get a hold of something, it's like we don't know how to handle it. And yeah, people definitely was using this stuff to settle scores. They use her like a nuclear weapon.
But let me say this: there's nothing stopping any black content creator who hits the right stride from getting over 1 million subs. There's nothing out there.
We don't have the same kind of volume.
It's called cancellation.
Yeah, that's true. But we also don't have the numbers either. That's why when people say like it's not that. Number one, if you're a man and you want to get 1 million subs, sports, the hair industry, like the haircut situation, like styling and like barbers and stuff like that, and urban news is how you get there. You don't get there with this type of content. This is advocacy. This is not like you don't say, I want to create a YouTube channel and then I want to talk about red pill content. Now, if you're going to do that, the way you need to do it is how everybody has done it that's gotten that big is you talk about everybody. You talk about you keep it general. Like MTR is probably the biggest of the black channels. Yeah, but Poor Man, everybody. Coach Greg Adams, everybody. Darius McTowell, everybody. That's how you do it. You don't. If you do it just with black men, you don't have the numbers. And you got to understand too. A lot of black men are not ready to accept the stuff that we say. They'd rather have the purple pill conversation, which is why you see the Daily Rap Crew, Table 8. You see all the LaPeef. They need women included on the show to validate the stuff. So you got to really believe in black men to do this. And sometimes I'll be wondering why the fuck am I still here? I ain't even gonna lie.
But I didn't say we should just confine it to black men. I'm just saying it has to be broad based. I agree with you. I agree with that.
Well, but then you get the coon card.
Well, real quick, I'll say this about that's always been a topic where it's like, okay, we just work harder and get to 1 million. You do make good points, Edward Anderson, where it's like, if you're a black person and you're speaking to an audience in the Western America, like you have to be a little more strategic on how to get to that because there's just simply not as much. Like the numbers aren't there. So how to tap into like more of a mainstream audience, then you're going to have to be really how you do that.
Oh yeah, by the way, I lied. I did share a white woman before. I shared the white woman Shay Sade did a video with showing the stuff Cynthia G said. So I blame Shay Sade for that.
Or my friend, yeah. And that's the thing too, where it's like, I mean, that kind of goes back into a whole nother conversation, but I'm like, there is something to be said about the fact that like Pearl, you know, she's getting a lot of notoriety in America, in Europe as a white woman. So it's like, yeah, of course she's going to have a larger audience just by the nature of how she looks. She probably has white people who follow, probably has Europeans. Like that's a whole different audience than say a Black person. Not to say you can't get to that level, but it's going to be a little bit different for multiple reasons. But really, like I said, again, the overall goal here was for me to talk about the Black manosphere and really what is next. So with that said, I do need to wrap these things up. I think this has been a really interesting conversation. If any of you guys kind of want to just give final thoughts on what you think is next with the Black manosphere, let's do that, and then I'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I'll go first.
Chime in real quick since I hadn't spoken yet.
I'll go first. So you said earlier.
Hold on, give me just a second. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on the panel, Shay. Sure. I thought this was this issue is more so economic, because if they were talking about just Pearl, they were talking about the contracts and how the algorithm from YouTube is constantly pushing her channel where it's not pushing Black channels. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and then her comments about slavery and reparations, and then her being privileged. And so I guess it hits us. It's a sore spot for a lot of Americans when they say, "Oh, she works hard," when she's really just contracting African talent, and we're seeing a lot of talent that's actually supporting her, and all she's going to do is go back to her community and make somebody from her community rich. Whereas that African talent can help somebody, say like your channel or Phil Scott's channel. Because Phil has been asking for content creators and talent, and they're all over there supporting someone who doesn't believe in reparations. And so, forgive me if I'm wrong for that. Is that the reason why there's such a divide in the manosphere amongst Black?
Hey, before you go any further, I want to just ask a question with that. Like, I mean, all of them people that you mentioned, how many of them you see are in line to give Africans a job with, you know what I'm saying, helping them with their YouTube channel?
I think Philip
Look to me like Pearly seemed to be one of the few people on YouTube that's actually doing that shit. So I see a lot of people making comments about the contracts and her giving people jobs. I don't see none of them motherfuckers giving people contracts or even getting money with other people on YouTube. Most of them people literally in a room by themselves doing their own thing. They ain't got no network.
No, Philip Scott has over 1 million, and he works exclusively with Black content creators. But I feel like he's kind of in a different space of the algo. I don't think
I said most. Yeah, most.
Yeah.
Yeah, most. I know it's a few that have a real team and a real business and all of that other stuff going on. I'm careful. I don't mind a drag. I don't mind a roast. I don't mind all of the effery. We can do all of that. But when it comes to just slandering somebody's business and all of that other stuff, when they got employees and everything else, I try to get all of the facts and both sides of the story before I just do that. And I think a lot of people are coming off half cocked because of what they heard on here and didn't really review them contracts and all of that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So understand that business dealings are different when you're not the one involved.
Well, yeah, that's true. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, those contracts spoken by Sarah was accurate. And now let's just move anybody who has 10% or 15%, you know, the low end.
He also left a lot out too, though. He also left a lot out. He didn't mention the 6 month or the 3 year fail safe. You know what I'm saying? He didn't mention the fact that he was able to leave with all of the rights to his content and his channel and everything else. He left a whole lot of stuff out. He also left out that he didn't negotiate any type of sliding scale or a better percentage for himself. He didn't try to negotiate anything. He just got offered something, didn't like it, didn't take it. That's his fault. He don't know how to negotiate a contract.
Well,
so of course he got offered something.
I'm speaking on the hypothetical situation.
So I think we're getting a little, because I want to make sure we stay on track here. I know that when we're talking about contracts, we're kind of back on the Pearly thing, which I know there's going to be plenty of more conversations regarding that probably over the next week or two, because that's just where the algorithm is. Valid points, but I want to try to keep this towards the Black manosphere and what specifically we think is next. next. Let's try to
Excuse
stay.
me.
Yeah.
No, but if I can just jump on that before I dip real quick. I mean, that's an issue with the black. We have no right commenting on her contracts or any of that other stuff when 99% of the damn content creators in the black manosphere ain't got no damn contracts, ain't got no business, and ain't making no money on this shit anyway. All right. I'm going to dip. That's pretty much all I got to say. You know what I'm saying? But thanks for having me up. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know, Rose and Exit, if you wanted to wrap up, and then Game Changer, I know you were trying to hop in.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, I didn't mean to take the conversation off of it, but I think that's the core crutch. I mean, this idea about a woman who's white colonizing this space. That's just a symptom. That's not the cause. That's not the actual disease. We're facing socioeconomic problems amongst the black community. I think our net worth is about to be zero soon. So,
2053, yes.
Yes,
that's the glide path.
That's the issue. That's the issue. So if it can be a Hispanic woman tomorrow or a Filipina. It doesn't matter. It's about the economics. It's always been about the economics. So I'm gonna leave it there. But if you want solutions, focus on how to build economics with each other.
Yeah. No, I think that's a valid point. More to come on that. I'm going to have more topics related to that, because I think you're right where this hit on a sore spot. A lot of this is a distraction, in my opinion. The this and the that and the a lot of it is a distraction. But I think going back to some of the core sentiments and the frustration is, a young white girl is able to come in and profit off of quote unquote black issues in a way that many black content creators haven't been able to. And of course, that's going to make some people feel upset. Now you have different perspectives. Some people say, look, she's just being a good businesswoman. Some people saying, well, she's not really talking about black issues. She just has black people. There's all kind of different opinions. But I think at the end of the day, this is a woman who's making a lot of money. She's referenced black content creators. She brings black content creators on. She employs black people. So, and she makes a lot of money off of it. So of course it's going to be a touchy subject in a time right now in the economy where people are struggling a lot financially. I think that's a valid point. So, well, thank you for weighing in. For a second, Exodus, I appreciate you weighing in. I think Game Changer, you were next.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, it is largely about economics. Keep in mind that there is money in this space, and the thing that you're talking about working together to make money. That is what's at play here. I mean, people have become millionaires off of this space, literally. So let's not pretend like this isn't a matter of money, or it's not discussed, or the concept of uniting for the sake of money isn't at play here. Now, the problem as it exists in the manosphere, like Shay Sade said earlier, this is a very small space, and there's very little room to grow in this space. Not only are we limited because we deal with a very small niche group of people, a subset of a country that has, a population less than China, India, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're only 13% of that. And then there's because of the inflammatory nature of it, we're subject to shadow ban and everything like that. So people grow here at a extremely slow pace. I know people who start makeup tutorials, or they just take pictures of their kids putting their shoes on and things like that, are things that they find cute for their kids, and those channels grow faster than ours. So just to be clear, we are dealing in very, very, very small leagues. Now, as a result of it, and because money is involved, it's become hyper competitive to the point to where what we're doing is we're starting to cannibalize each other. And Pearl was just a catalyst. It was just an opportunity for some of the larger YouTubers to stunt some of the smaller YouTubers from ever becoming competition, because we are competing for very scarce resources in their minds. And that's why you had people like Jason Black, like, oh, yes, she said something, and now let's talk about the manosphere. And then you had O'Shea do the same thing, like, oh yeah, she said something, so I'm leaving the manosphere because y'all don't know how to deal with, So there's this attack at other black men, and this goes back to what the brother was saying about business, and that is because It's a few viewers. It's very few viewers, very few donors and stuff like that they're all competing for. It's just an aggressive marketplace. That's what we're dealing with. Me, it's more about the message than the money. And especially since, unlike the aforementioned people, this is not my full-time occupation. So I have a little bit of liberty in that. I don't really have to be, eat off the next person's plate or attempt to do so. But that is what's going on. Make no mistake. It has little to do with Pearl. This is about eliminating competition for the hearts and minds of Black people.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think you guys raised some great points about really what this is about and what this is meaning and how it's impacting people on a real scale, and that's economically. It is how it's impacting people. Yeah, totally.
And that's why I brought up the Benedict Arnold thing when we were talking about Obsidian, because what happened was, he's seen an opportunity to sell out the Black Manosphere for what he believed was the potential of some money, because he has ambitions to be Kevin Samuels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's never going to be it because he's a short, funny looking dude. But in addition to that, the personality and things like that, well, for whatever reason, it's not going to happen. But if he has to throw the Manosphere under the bus to make it happen, he would. He'd throw pretty much anybody that he had past loyalties with under the bus in order to make this happen. Now, it's quite unfortunate that this has been revealed about him, but that's exactly what he's doing. I mean, and keep in mind, he is full-time on this. This is his bread and butter. He's not like a software engineer by day or anything like that. This is what he does, so he can't really afford to not do it that way.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you guys.
All right. Somebody said I use other people's to address beef. No, I pretty much do it on my own. Check out my video, July 22nd of last year. Yes, I brought up this before.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, what I've learned, especially in this live, is that not only is the Black Manosphere not a monolith, that I guess Mr. Obsidian is more polarizing than I thought. I know every time I bring him on, I have some loyal supporters, and then I have people who absolutely do not like him. But I think I kind of understand a little bit more based upon what Edward Anderson has said in LR Movement, that there's more of a history to this stuff than I'm privy to. So, but you guys all make valid points about what this means economically. And I think maybe that's why people are really getting bent out of shape, because it seems like, why would somebody get so bent out of shape over what a random woman says that they're never going to meet? But to your point, if they're fighting to get attention, they're fighting to get views in some way, shape, or form, and it's impacting their pocketbook, that could be one reason there's so much frenzy behind this. So,
yeah, it is. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. I got a short thing. I know I don't need to be last here. Thanks for letting me up, Shay. One of the things that'd be nice to get back to is talking about how do we find Black folks, men and women, who want to be in relationships, eventually get married, have kids, because I think if we're going to try to generate wealth, it needs to start from intact families.
That's valid.
And as the baby boomers and the Gen Xers start to die off, that safety net of grandmothers taking care of, single mother kids is dying off, because Gen Z mothers ain't taking care of their grandkids, because they hardly even take care of their only kids, their first kids. So the black community is like a generational so away from complete irrelevance. I mean, in terms of anything. I mean, especially for the inner cities, we got such a class problem now. I don't see how, if we don't do something and talk about issues that matter and find the folks who want to rebuild a community, don't have to be the old community, but a new one, we're in trouble. That's what I think. And there's a combination of, people being married, what our political stances are, because if we keep voting for Democrats over and over, we know how that works over the last 70 years. I don't see how it gets any better. I tell you what, Biden's more of a racist than just Pearly thing. I could tell you that. Well, he has a lot more. He has a lot more evidence that he doesn't like black people than she does.
Yeah, that's
You
valid.
know.
Valid. They call
You
it
know, so I mean, all I want to say is, these platforms are good. I'm a retired engineer. I work for the Department of the Army, so I kept the world safe for all of you guys anyway. For what I did. So, and I was a civilian, so I was on the inner circle for a lot of stuff. So I like America. I don't mind being called an American, a Black American. But am I a pro-Black guy? Depends on what the issue is. And one thing that is coming out of this thing, and I'll land it on this. It's kind of nice to see, unfortunately, in the backside kind of way, of how Black Africans, Black Caribbeans, Black Americans are actually talking about an issue from their perspective on this thing. Everywhere across the so-called manosphere. It's an interesting. If you're listening, we got all kinds of Black folks, and we talking about this from their own perspective. Even the Blacks in England, the Blacks everywhere, and we have a lot of similar issues, and that's something for us to build on, as opposed to the things that make us different. And one of the problems I have in America, though, this ADOS and the FBA. I mean, do we need any other things to keep dividing us? I mean, yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I understand, and I see nothing wrong with people wanting to identify the unique experience they've had within North America. I see nothing wrong with that. I think the problem can become when it becomes a reason to divide further, and then when it starts getting into infighting, and that's to me when I think it becomes counterproductive.
Okay, so there's one more. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing before I go. Let me just finish this. And I really believe this. Black Americans are the strongest group we could be, and we were at one point the strongest group of Black people on the face of this earth. And a lot of people don't want to give us credit for that, for the kind of struggles we went through to where a lot of us are today. And let me tell you, Nelson Mandela would have died in jail if it wasn't for Black Americans. Okay, so we have a certain power that we don't tap into because, and I think it's on purpose, social engineers like to keep us talking about being victims as opposed to being the champions that we could be. And, when we get together, man, we move shit, man. And I'm not saying we all have to agree. I'm just saying that, I think there was a point where Black Americans, when we weren't fighting at each other's necks, and the women love men and men love women, we were doing some good shit until they got us. They broke us up. They had the feminists took the Black women and, jail and all this horseshit crack and everything, took the Black man, and we broke families up. And now we see the devastation that it's wrought. That's where we are now.
You're not putting that on Black people, though, are you? All of that breaking up the families and stuff like that, because you just mentioned a lot of external factors. And that's one of the things I see people do. They'll say, we did this, we did that. And you mentioned several external factors, and Black people didn't create the crack epidemic.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say we did. We fell prey to it, though.
Yeah, let's try to stay on topic, please, if we can, because
I mean, that was just my. I also said that I think we're the most powerful Blacks on the face of the earth. I also said that. So it's not like I'm downing on Black people. I think we could really be great. What makes Black people great? One thing makes us great, and we don't like to take credit for this either. We're Black, but we think like Westerners. Most of us think like Westerners. So anyway,
for people to be attacking Black people the way they are, you have to be great. Otherwise, they wouldn't be bothering us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let me land it there. Thanks. Hey, listen, I appreciate all the different, opinions on the board. I mean, I don't have to be right. Let me put it to you that way. I just have an opinion. I don't want to be anybody's enemy about it either.
Appreciate you. Okay,
Yeah.
Kevin, I think you're the final straw here.
Yeah. So
you wrap it up.
The question you had was, did the Black Manosphere sell out? That's still up in the air because there's a minor distraction for about the next 4 to 6 weeks, and we can determine that a little bit later, right? That being said, and I think it'll get back on track once the hullabaloo kind of dies down. At the end of the day, the Black Manosphere is here to help Black men you know, to teach them and then to help them become better men and to avoid toxic women. All right, and improve the black male image. Now, as it relates to improving the black male image, it's not going to happen outside of black people. All right,
Yeah, that's fair.
white people are going to think what they're going to think. Everybody else is going to. I've already just come to that conclusion. If you're non-black, then you're going to think what you're going to think about black men and black women to some extent. So the people that we really have to fight against are the people who are gynocratic folk who have a gynocratic focus, and then on top of that, the sympathizers who literally kind of support and reinforce the foolery that we see people do. Do we have black men who are into some foolery and chaos and dysfunction? Absolutely. However, there's much more foolery, chaos, and dysfunction on the women's side, and that's where we are on this now. And that's what, if you're paying attention to the black manosphere, that's what you're going to see. The statistics support that. And because we've had this lie for how long? Decades about what black men are doing, black men need to be better, and all this other stuff. Black men are better. We've already done all the work to be better. So, and again, yeah, that's the way it's going to go. And I just think one of the takeaways is we need to be careful about who we allow in these discussions. So when you bring non-black people in, if you're bringing them in as a specialist, kind of like what Obsidian has done from time to time, it makes sense because they're talking about issues that kind of relate, but they're not, being validated by, somebody who's recognized in the black manosphere.
Yeah.
So that's why he could bring that red pill lady on who did a documentary, but did not. But there was no hullabaloo about her being over here. That's all it is. All right, but yeah, thanks for letting me up.
Thank you as always.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, you have a good one. All right, guys. Well, this was, as always, a informative conversation. I learned a little bit more about the Black Manosphere history. It was interesting to hear your guys' different perspective, point of view. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. I think we can all agree that there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. And there are many issues that have yet to be addressed and solved. And so I think that is where the focus should be. Obviously, I have a passion for wanting to work with women and address issues that directly impact modern women, especially Black women. So that's something that my channel is going to continue to do. Hair stuff, relationship stuff, marriage stuff, spirituality, all things that I think directly can impact and improve the individual lives of women, and then hopefully will eventually impact the community. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. That's far greater than what a person said, how much money a person is making or isn't making, for sure. But that said, this is a good conversation. I'll be interesting to see how things transpire over the next couple of weeks. And I do want to acknowledge all of the generous super chats. Thank you. Shout out to you, Sess Man, with the $1.99. It says be well. Thank you so much. That go the money. That go the money. Thank you so much for that generous super chat. I appreciate you. And then I want to acknowledge the other ones. See Facts on Deck $4.99. It says those Asian women were just defending themselves from attack and slander as they should. No one wants to be talked about like that. I think you're referring to the Passport Bros, and then the issues that came up against some of the different Thai women and women from the Philippines. Yes, they should be able to take care of themselves. Shout out to your Daily Wrap Up crew with the $9.99. I don't know if you're still here, and maybe you guys kind of slid out, but thank you so much for the $9.99. Okay, so make sure you also support, like, share, repost. Thank you so much, Daily Wrap Up crew. Shout out to D Scott with the 2. It says hurricane tax. Thank you. Deanie with the 2222. Thank you so much. Again, you're always such a loyal supporter, and I love hearing your perspective. Incog Spectator with the 5. It says, LOL, who is afraid of weak Cynthia G? All of those Looney Tunes on her channel are lost. All of those clowns will go by when World War III starts. Thank you for the 5. Big game. Orthono James with the $9.99. Cynthia G is a thought leader among young Black women. Her talking points are all over TikTok and Twitter. Do you think it's also impacting young women? I've always gone back and forth as to whether or not it's young women or older women who are kind of bitter or upset or have had bad situations. Interesting thought. Beyond Wormley with Education Channel, it says JPT followers have now compared her to the U.S. Army, Jesus Christ, and Fox News. Her talking points are Sergeant Willie Pete's. Interesting. No, that's news to me. Her being compared to Jesus Christ. That's quite interesting. Shout out to Ed. Thank you, Andre, with the 2. Thank you, Bang with the 2. It says preach, Edward Anderson. I know you guys were showing some support there. Shout out to you, Lowell Gillen, with the 10. Is what's horrific about this whole situation is a bunch of ninjas like Anton Daniels, Obsidian Radio, and other house ninjas further cause to the world to disrespect us for every time they defend Miss Anne. So again, as I mentioned before, there was a ton of this is definitely caused some tension, and it's definitely caused some back and forth. But I think what I'm learning more and more is how much the Black Manosphere really is not a monolith, and how there really are different. Not only are there different content creators, but there are different ways about how to go about reaching the different goals of the Manosphere. So that's what I learned today. Shout out to you, Lowell Gillen, for, I hope I didn't butcher your name, but shout out to you for becoming a YouTube member. You'll be able to join us for Members Only Live, hopefully. So I look forward to that. I look forward to connecting. Marriage, politics, and sports. Again, it's always good to have you and talk with you. Great 18th letter. Thinking rationally is needed. Says the Black Manosphere are sellouts, but Kevin Samuels played gatekeeper and gave you the wrong leaders. I know he was a controversial figure. Shout out to Afro Disciple with the 499. It says, can we applaud Trade for exuding such femininity to the point grown men apologize for swearing? Thank you. And thank you for calling in. It was good. It was good to have you on. Shout out to PW85. It says Kanye also said slavery was a choice. He also brought his albums. Also, Nick Fuentes, the pro interviewee, is buddies with Kanye. That's true. It says Black-white Republicans have found some common problems that Black men feel and are trying to get them to vote that way solely of those Manosphere feelings. They use the marketing term conservative. Yeah. Black conservatives, that's something I want to talk or examine a little bit more. I attempted to have an interview with 2 Black conservatives, Obsidian and actually Pan-Africanism Strikes Back, who is a Pan-Africanist, but he's a conservative. And that interview went a little differently than I intended. But I would like to have some more conversations with Black conservatives specifically, because I think being that they go against the grain, since Black people overall are still largely vote Democratic, I think it would be interesting to get the perspective on that. And specifically, understanding trends on why more Black men slowly but surely are turning more, voting more conservative, more Republican. Fourth dimension with the 10, it says, view oneself as a Black first and human second causes the IQ level of the conversation to drop because we tend to overlook conflicting variables for the sake of ego narrative. Human first. Thank you, fourth dimension. Again, marriage politics works with the 5. Says, yeah, and you're agreeing again with Afro and his thoughts. PW5 says JPT has completely taken over the minds of Black YouTube. Come on, folks, let's move on already. We have seen her a lot. I think people are just riding the agbo to a certain extent, but it'll blow over in a bit. Says, thank you, Afro Disciple 88. So he had some support. I know he was getting some pushback, but he had some support in the comments. So Black Manosphere talks about the gynocracy all the time and then turn around and want a white woman to lead them, which is the definition of the gynocracy. 499. Thank you, Devon, for the 499. Mariah Israel 199 says, if just Pearly is vindicated, so is Donald Sterling. Are you speaking about Dennis? Okay, Donald Sterling or Dennis Sterling? Okay, but thank you for the 199. Maybe I'm not familiar with Donald Sterling. Excidia, the Forbidden One, the 1999. Thank you so much for the generous super sticker. Appreciate all of you guys for the support. Says, to simply be condescending, says words such as my Africans, which implies ownership of an entire continent of people. Race tropes. Yeah, I mean, y'all know I was not in agreement with the things that were said on her interview. I've stated that clearly. Afro Disciple with the 5, it says we overthink these things way too much. Kevin C again with the 150 Chanel super sticker, and Deanie again showing some support. Thank you, Deanie. Thank you so much. And Detrius Betts, I think he started off with the collection plate. So again, thank you all. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me, being here today. I learned a lot. I like to have these times to listen and understand. As I mentioned before, I know people in the Black Manosphere, have obviously talked with people in the Black Manosphere, and am sympathetic or empathetic, I don't know which is the best word, to some of the goals and understanding that there are things that are unfair that I think should be changed and pushed for policy wise. So That's why I like to talk to the space. With that said, I don't pretend to be the expert on what's going on. So I like to have these times to learn and understand and see what's going on, and then hopefully gain some understanding on how things are going to progress. So we will see what's going on in the near future. As always, like, share, subscribe on the way out. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you are notified each time we go live. And thank you so much for hanging out. And yeah, we'll talk later. Okay, bye.